Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine the best movie for any given year. Of course, this season we are focusing on the year 1999, and we're doing it for the second time. Our first ever season was 1999. We're checking our math. We want to see if we got the answers right, and we're adding a few more movies into the fight. I am your host, Greg, and tonight's show is focusing on the Limey, and stick around a little bit later when we talk about 10 things I hate about you. This is a game show, of course, so expect there to be points. I'm going to be giving points for funny comments, for facts about the movie, for any story that's like, well, I was sitting down talking to both Terence Stamp and Peter Fonda, personal friends of mine. That's going to be points. That's going to be points every time. And at the end of every segment, I will tell you the scores. So let's get to the panelists. My first panelist is a good bloke. It's Mike.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
You know what? It's always an honor to have you, Mike. My second guest is my China plate. That means my mate. It's Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
God, Greg, the Cockney slang, it gets me every time. I always understand exactly what you're talking about when you do it, and I appreciate it.
Yes.
If this keeps going, I'm going to get Brahms. Brahms and Liszt, which means pissed, obviously.
Obviously. And our last guest is Filmspotting's co-founder, co-host, and executive producer. It is Adam Kempenaar. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to have a butcher's hook look. It's you guys again. See, I can play along. I can do it too. Great to be back.
Thank you. Yeah, it is your second show, so you've been a part of all of this, and you decided to come back anyway.
Yes.
I love that. I love it. Adam, let's start with you. What is your history with 1999's The Limey?
My history is I saw this movie exactly one time, I think on DVD. I don't think I even saw it in the theater. I think I saw it on DVD after it came out. I was a Soderbergh fan at this point, loved Out of Sight, and certainly was in to Soderbergh, liked Sex, Lies, and Videotape. I'm sure I'd seen a few other films, but I think I had only seen The Limey once up until this rewatch. So I really appreciated the opportunity to see it again.
Hey, you know what? No problem. We are glad to provide you that opportunity. So that's your history with it. Mike, let's go to you next. What is your history with The Limey?
Has been on the to-watch list for so long. I have my history of Soderbergh in general is so spotty.
Yeah.
And that I've seen like 3 of his movies, and Ryan hates me every day for it.
You have not seen Out of Sight. Is that correct, Mike?
I've not famously
Wow.
not seen Out of Sight.
I have to tell
An
you.
all-timer.
Yeah. In preparation for this show, I watched the movie Out of Sight, and you really have to see that movie, dude. There's just
Fine.
it's not going to be homework. It's going to be on for 5 minutes, and you're going to be like, "This is one of my favorite movies. Why do I not watch it all the time?" Okay, Ryan, going to you. What is your history with The Limey?
Let me just say real quick, it's strange to be here tonight, Greg. And again, thank you for having me. But
Well, you are
all
my
of
China.
my, which is mate,
Yes.
right? Yes. All of the shit that I give Mike for having never seen Out of Sight, or everything I say about being a Soderbergh fan, that's just stuff that seems original to you guys that I say, because I just have copied Adam for 25 years at this point, and now just don't. Parasocial relationships are weird, guys, and don't look into them. But yeah, The Limey, I remember also watching on DVD. I don't know if I even registered when it was in the theaters. Like, it was in between 2 huge spells for him, like Soderbergh, right? Like just after Out of Sight, and then before that, remember in the year 2000, where he had Brockovich and Traffic, and then in between those 3 movies was this one. I watched it on DVD, liked it a lot, and then I have seen the stock rise and rise and rise and rise, and I think this was like the movie I fought for the hardest on in the bracket show, like to get its own episode, because I just knew that there was more to this, you know, simple Parker-esque story. And I wasn't sure what it was. I couldn't remember exactly what was more about it, but holy shit, did this movie deliver in every single way.
Yeah, for me, this, like, I had never heard of this movie at all. I'm not sure how, I mean, I was a pretty big active moviegoer in 99, but it completely slipped through the cracks. And I had like no experience with it. And so it was the kind of thing where I was like, okay, Ryan really wants to do this. Let's do this movie. And I had no idea what to expect, really. I just put it on and I saw it fresh. What are our general, going back to you, Adam, having you saw it years ago, you watched it in preparation for the show this week. What are your general feelings about this movie, positive or negative?
Mm-hmm. I was excited to see it. I always regarded it pretty highly. I'd have to go back. I have a letterbox list where I've ranked Soderbergh's movies, and I think this is probably in the top 10. And I do generally consider myself to be a big Soderbergh fan. Even though it may be in the top 10, that doesn't mean I think it's one of his best films, at least coming into this rewatch. And that was one of the things I was most eager to see. We do something on Filmspotting we call Sacred Cows, which just means we look at films, classic films. Sometimes it's when they're celebrating an anniversary. It's usually when there's kind of a lull in the schedule, right? Where there's nothing really interesting coming out that's worth talking about. So we take a classic film, and it's usually one we haven't seen in quite a while, and we want to revisit it and we want to see if it holds up. Does it deserve to be labeled a sacred cow? And usually it's a film that we also hold in that regard. And there's always surprises. There's always revelations. That's the fun of doing it. So for me, I was going into this thinking, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have fun with this, just because seeing Terence Stamp on screen again was going to be something I thought I would enjoy. And being a Soderbergh fan, I thought it would be fun to see just how deep he went with the nonlinear editing. I couldn't remember just how much fun he was having, like how all in he was, and he's all in here, right?
Yes.
So for me, I knew those two things were going to be at play, but I kind of thought, is this just going to be kind of the revenge tale I thought it was? And that would be kind of okay. Was it going to be just the Terence Stamp, he comes back, he gets out of jail, his daughter's been killed, and he's going to get revenge, and I'm going to enjoy watching him get that revenge.
Yeah.
That's what I thought I was going to get. And Ryan, maybe we had similar experiences, and maybe you expected this experience, because I can't remember if you said you've seen it more times or not. You fought for this movie. I got so much more out of it this time than I did back in 99 watching it on DVD. And maybe that's just a matter of, hopefully after 20 years of podcasting, being a more sophisticated viewer. We'll see if I have anything interesting to say about the movie. You guys can be the judge of that, but I know I got a lot.
Be the judge of that.
Yeah, I got a lot more out of the experience watching it this time. And I do think it is more than just a formal exercise, which is what Soderbergh detractors often say about him. I think it's more than just that. And I also think it's more than just the revenge tale that I thought it might be.
Awesome. Mike, what are your impressions? You were like me, right? You've seen it fresh. What are your general impressions of it?
So fresh. So when Terence Stamp showed up on screen, I went, oh, cool. I went in as blind as you could be, because that's what I think a good movie viewer should be. And love that guy.
R.I.P., right? Yeah, we lost him just
R.I.P.
today, the day we're recording this.
Now we're all kneeling before Zod.
Yeah.
Grief.
If we're starting a trend here, we should definitely review The Apprentice next.
You want Sebastian Stan to die?
No, I meant...
Well played, Mike. Well played.
I love noir. I love revenge movies. This slapped so fucking hard. Love Luis Guzman, and 99 is his year. Yeah, this ruled. I definitely think it needs more than a watch to get beyond this is just a cool 90-minute revenge flick, and it is well worth it.
All right. Ryan, do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I almost wonder if this is one of those movies that, like, and I hate to do this, but if you're watching it fresh, it's going to be, there's parts of it that are so overwhelming. We'll get into all that, but like, do you give people a heads up of what to expect a little bit? Or just do the thing of like, You're going to love it the second time or the third time, and you're going to like it the first. I swear it has everything you need from a genre movie like this. But yeah, I was completely blown away. I mean, let's start the show. Let's do this.
And for my own part, I will say, as someone who saw it totally fresh, and I knew that there was a fair amount of hype around it, but I went into it not sure what to expect, and I would say for 10 minutes I was like, what do we got here? He's making some interesting choices here, and I will tell you, when the movie absolutely sunk its hooks into me is when he gets thrown out of that like trucking, like the factory where the trucking guys have been like sending out whatever illegal drugs that they send out or whatever. When he goes there and interrogates, gets the name Terry Valentine, and then he gets thrown out, and you're like, this guy really, like, I guess he'll take a beating. I guess that's just what he's all about. And then he turns around, pulls out a gun, and goes back into the warehouse, but the camera doesn't follow him.
But we don't go right. Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, here we go. I am all about this. Like, just watching him.
Why are you taking potentially one of our moments here?
Okay.
That's how good that is. And he almost stands up like the Terminator in that moment, right?
It's the hardest moment in cinema history.
Yeah, the way Stamp emerges into the frame. I love it after he's been beaten. It's so good.
And then after I watched it that first time, Ryan, you recommended watching it with the director's commentary where Soderbergh and Lem Dobbs sit down and just basically have a little tussle about the movie.
It's a famous one.
By the time I was done watching that, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch every movie Soderbergh's ever made. I'm going to watch the Limey like 2 more times. I'm going to watch it with commentary 1 more time. I felt like I was sitting down watching a class or something like that. And so I am marked up for this movie. I'm an absolute mark for it. Very dark horse out of nowhere. And I think it might totally like change the trajectory of our 99 season. Well, we basically almost got into talking about this movie, and that's very dangerous to do in the first segment when nobody even gets any points. We're going to take the quickest of breaks, and when we come back, the scoring starts and the screaming gets underway. The Limey is about Wilson, an old, broke-down British criminal coming to LA to investigate the recent death of his daughter, Jennifer. Early on, he decides on who the perpetrator must be: her recent lover, Valentine, an established music producer who was much closer to her father's age than her own. We meet this music producer, played by Peter Fonda, and really played by Peter Fonda. And we find a washed-up relic of the 60s who no longer stands for the counterculture that he once embraced and now has instead himself become the man in just about every way, including to resorting to a loose affiliation with gangsters. The Limey isn't just in conversation with the films and culture of the mid to late 60s. In many ways, it's a sequel to either, you could say, Easy Rider, a sequel to Poor Cow. What is Soderbergh telling us about that time as compared to the late 90s, Ryan?
Oh, man, I think that there's so many interesting things that pop up when you pay attention to the non-bang, bang, shoot 'em up parts. And I think that the shifting styles in the filmmaking throughout the movie, and I mean, there's a line in here where they're talking about Peter Fonda, who was Captain America in Easy Rider, and how he has a line where he's like, people say the 60s were great. It was actually just 66 and early 67. Like, he's got very specific numbers on it, but also how he packaged up 60s nostalgia and sold it, sold his soul and the era's soul. And this is Peter Fonda doing that, who I thought was he just had workout tapes. Was this the guy who workout tapes by Fonda? But apparently he had a whole other career besides that. And
Annoy Pete.
It's clear all of Soderbergh's inspirations here. And not only does he put them in the movie, and Greg, you said you watched the commentary, so I'm sure you have a list right off the dome about everything that inspired it. But I think that this movie is about the end of the 60s in part. This movie's about a lot of things, but I think in part about the ending of the 60s and the ending of the 90s. This is, I think, the first movie that shows that that we've talked about this year, that isn't just we're in a new era. All of them are sort of about that, but specifically the 90s are done and this person from the 60s is here to kill them.
And it feels like he's preemptively like, because we all herald, like we have on the show talked about like this one of the best years of movies, but herald like the 90s was so great. That's how everybody talks now because how bleak everything is. But it feels like the movie's preempting like, is it though? Is it that great? Like, look at the paragon of the 60s saying that was all bullshit. We need to remember whatever era we want to lionize. It was probably shorter than you think. It was probably full of shit.
What's the critique of the 60s here? Do you think there is a critique, Adam, of the 60s? And if so, what is it?
So I might go in a little bit of a different direction. And part of that is due to the fact that I don't have necessarily the 99, the keen 99 perspective that you guys have. I don't know. And I haven't listened to that commentary. I'm familiar with it because it's so infamous. But so I don't know if they get into this. But I don't know that the movie is saying much about the 60s or trying to make a statement about it, or I'll say that that's not what I took away from the movie. For me, and here I'm going to try not to get too much into a topic I'm sure we're going to get into more, which is the nonlinear approach. But for me, they're so commingled. I don't know if I can avoid it. For me, what's really powerful about the approach Soderbergh takes here and the 60s versus 90s dichotomy is it all comes back to what the story is fundamentally about, which is Wilson in his relationship with his daughter or lack thereof. Yeah. Right. And what he's trying to reconcile. And this entire movie becomes this, in a way, a ghost story. Right. And he's referred to kind of as Daddy, the friendly ghost at one point. Right. And when he has a conversation, I think with Leslie Ann Warren's character, it's this kind of ghost story. It's a reckoning with the past. And it's one of these films where when you see whether or not you know anything about Ken Loach or Poor Cow, or honestly, whether or not you may even know anything about, I guess I'll say whether or not you know anything about Poor Cow, when you see that footage, you know that that's real footage. Yeah. You know, they didn't just stage something to make it look like, they didn't put makeup and a wig on to make it look like that's Terence Stamp as a young guy. There's something authentic and real immediately about it. And real is the operative word because, of course, it's Ken Loach, so it's a kitchen sink drama. Mm-hmm. And it just inherently is imbued with that and feels that way. Now, if you do know anything about Peter Fonda, what you probably know is what Ryan said, right? Which is like, he's Captain America. Yeah. And he's the guy who I think most people rightfully give him credit for being the real thing, the real deal, who was this counterculture icon and who had the right ideals and the right motivation. But I think there are others who might say he also did kind of package the 60s. Yeah. and got famous and made money off of it, right? So he is in a way a Terry Valentine like character. And so if you know that, this is one of those cases in every way, with Terence Stamp being someone who hadn't been in the limelight in a long time, hadn't been in movies. Like, we hadn't really seen him on screen in about 15 or 16 years. It's almost like Wilson, he steps out of jail and walks into the screen, walks back into our lives for the first time in a long time, right? And if you know about who Peter Fonda is, you're watching him as a character who's also reckoning with his actual legacy. So Soderbergh, I think, is so clever here, and Lem Dobbs, I suppose, as well. But Spielberg in the casting and in the making of this film, to have a film that is fundamentally about a character who's trying to reckon with the past and the daughter that he lost, the daughter that he only saw grow up and only knew in fragments, right? And now he's trying to make up for that, but she's gone and it's too late. And he's got, in every layer of this film, the movie itself, these characters, these real life people who are playing these fictional characters are also reckoning with who they actually are. And so we as viewers, knowing who Terence Stamp is, knowing who Peter Fonda is, even Ryan, you mentioned that line, part of 66 and early 67, that's another case of someone saying, well, even when we talk about the 1960s, reckoning with the 60s aren't even the 60s.
Even the 60s.
It's actually just, It's actually just about a year and a half. Like, so I'll just keep coming back to that idea of like reconciling that or reckoning with the past and these ghosts of the past. That's what this movie for me is really about. And I think it's that's what I wasn't expecting coming back into it.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought it was really powerful. So for me, the 60s and 90s clash, that's what's really important for me. Maybe less so. And I'm not saying it's not there. It's not important to discuss. For me, it was more the personal angle, the family dynamic, how that reinforced that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about Peter Fonda, because he does embody that tension between the 60s and the 90s that you see here. Over the course of the movie, to me, it became pretty clear that like Terry Valentine was just the name they were calling Peter Fonda. It's clear that like they repeatedly told Peter Fonda, tell a story from the life of Peter Fonda to this character right now. That American Express ad that doesn't feature Terry Valentine. That is a real American Express ad that features Peter Fonda. Like, so what's going on there, Ryan? Like, why do we have this complete enmeshing of who Peter Fonda and Terry Valentine are to the degree where they have a shared history, a shared backstory?
I think that one of the things is like if you watch Guzman and what's her name, Lady Scarlet from Clue, Leslie Ann Warren.
Elaine.
They feel like actors in a movie, and I love to see a Luis Guzman performance where he's not like an idiot in the butt of every joke. Right, he's like a real person in this. Peter Fonda and Terence Stamp are giving performances that are I think more stylized and more to like whatever they want to do. Peter Fonda and Terence Stamp do and say weird things in this movie. And I think that Soderbergh just sort of let Peter Fonda go off and sort of make this character his own. I'm sure it's not improvised. I would never say it's improvised in front of Lem Dobbs because I do not want him and his lawyers on my future director commentaries. But that's what it feels like. And I don't know. I think that they're touching on this thing, like Adam said, of Peter Fonda being this representative, but also rich as hell now. You know, like a star and going against all the stuff that Captain America stood for. I mean, for people our age, the 90s were 66 and 67 from like the Wonder Years to Forrest Gump. It was pre-packaged bullshit constantly telling us that those boomer years was everything. And here we have one of the faces of it, like let's say a Rushmore level face of it, doing this, you know? And I think that's why it hits so hard. His introduction scene, or like I don't know if it's the first time we see him, but it's his establishment scene of
King Midas in reverse.
King Midas in reverse.
And so
he's got a music video intro.
Not only do we have an incredibly on the nose song, which works perfectly, but we are now in the opening credits of a sitcom starring Peter Fonda from the 60s. Yeah. It's just like this is the style we're doing right now.
I mean,
it could be no one else. Like, think about it. Peter Fonda is the only person who could play Terry Valentine for this. Honestly, I think for this movie to work.
And I think what's interesting about it is spoilers for Easy Rider coming up here. But Easy Rider ends with the death of Captain America. And it is a tragedy at the end of Easy Rider. But by the time you hit the Limey, you're like, wait a minute. Is it more of a tragedy to die at the height of what you represent, or to continue to live until you are all the worst things of the dominant culture, a criminal and a cheater, and basically like he hasn't really built anything. He's just taken and a lech. Yeah.
Well, can I just add real quick? I mean, isn't it his line in the famous line that he says in Easy Rider, "We blew it"? And I think in the Limey, I think Terry Valentine, he basically stops short of saying it, but he embodies it. I think he's the embodiment of we blew it. We blew the promise of the counterculture in the 60s. He to your point, he lived too long and got too rich and forgot everything he stood for. And he's still clinging in a way to these ideals, but he's clearly actually in his actions has sacrificed everything he once believed in.
And he's totally fine. He's skating on Ice Street until
he learned how to skate when he was a little boy.
Until death comes, until the Grim Reaper is coming for him. And that's when he breaks down, all the regrets, all the crying, all of please, Avery, handle all of this, because I can't deal with what emotional impact this is going to have on me right now.
And that's, I think, why he hangs out with Adhara. It's not just because he's gross and knew her before she was born. It's because she's youthful and sees the world still she has hope. And so he's just a vampire.
Well, she's
trying to suck it all in.
She's like an innocent, right?
Yeah.
Like every time we see her, she is like bathing, she's always like cleaning herself. She's always,
Good point.
I always say in these movies, whenever you see a story about a missing girl, a dead girl, or missing girls, there is always the going missing girl. There is the girl that we still have at Hara, but we watch as she begins to disappear, and everybody, including the movie, is fixated on the girl we can't save, and we miss the girl that we can save. You'll see this in most things. Adhara is walking the path of Jenny, right? Jenny is for 5 years with Terry Valentine. It's not that she becomes aware over dribs and drabs in 5 years that he's aligned himself with criminals. She suddenly discovers the one criminal thing, or one of the very few criminal things he ever does, and she blows up his spot right away. And we watch Adhara begin to be like, wait, why do you have these big heavies in your living room? Why are we going to Big Sur? Why is there a car following us? Why are you telling me I'm in danger? And then finally we see her, when the shot and shell start flying, we see her say, let's call the cops.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we should call the cops. And everybody's like, shut up. That's the one thing we're not going to do here.
I think you make a really interesting point, and I think it's worth noting that she also looks just like Jenny.
Yes.
Like, she really does. If you look at the actress, I believe her name's Amelia Heinle, I don't think it's by accident that she looks an awful lot like Melissa George, the actress playing Jenny. They have very similar facial structures. They have the same, long brown hair, that same kind of chestnut color hair. It really is like Terry just said, I'll just find another one.
Yeah.
I can, I'm not, and I think he genuinely did have feelings for Jenny, but it's also a case where he feels like I can just replace her with another. And I found a clone of her.
This is a movie where we see a lot of characters defined by their stuff. Like we see Wilson. The first thing we get of him is one of the first things we get is he opens up his suitcase, and we see, he's got like Old Spice in there. He packed and brought to America Old Spice. Like the most down to earth scent a man could wear. It means like, I want to not smell bad, but I don't want to smell fancy at all. The first time we see Elaine, it's like one wine cooler, one pint of ice cream, right? And we're like, okay, this is like the scope of this person's life. For Terry Valentine, Adhara is one of those things. He's got the house, he's got the car, he's got the heavies, and then he's got Adhara. He's got this like stunningly, breathtakingly beautiful girl of the stars, right? And like, but as much as he does seem to like her, she seems very much to me like another part of the stuff, he's got around him.
Yeah.
They have pretty good chemistry, but like, he and Jenny probably did too, and there will be an Adhara part 3 soon.
I mean, he and Jenny were together for 5 years, and he's like already like, he still has Jenny's picture up in his house, and he's already moved on.
That's his danger. That's the danger of a vampire, is to make you believe this moment right now is real to them when they've had thousands and thousands of these moments. Who gives a fuck, really?
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to point. Go ahead, Adam.
No, go ahead. Well, just real quick, I do like, Greg, that you mentioned that, because I almost considered this as one of the really nice Soderbergh touches in this film. And with respect to Lem Dobbs, maybe it was in the screenplay. Sure. The fact that I think literally the first moment we meet Elaine, I don't know that we even see her first. We see what she's buying first. And it's the ice cream, and it's also like wax strips.
Yes.
So it maybe suggests that she's kind of still clinging to, trying to retain her youth a little bit, right, as she gets older. But it gives us a sense, and she's walking home alone from the grocery store late at night. It gives us a sense of her inner life immediately.
She goes into her apartment, and it's like
he goes into her apartment, but just a quick shot of the thing she's buying at the grocery store tells us immediately something about her character, which I think is really just fascinating filmmaking, right? But also the thing here that goes back to Fonda and Valentine, one of the things that confounds, I think, our expectations about this type of movie, you assume that he is a crime boss.
Mhm.
He's the guy wearing the fancy clothes. We know or assume he is the guy responsible for Jenny's death. He's the guy that's going to get his comeuppance. He must be evil. And the thing is, he's a Fonda. So that also, there's the meta element of he was Captain America, and we inherently sort of like him and the Fondas and Henry Fonda, his father. But he's a likable guy. And Fonda plays Valentine like a likable guy for the most part. Like his reaction to everything is like, I wrote down some of these lines, but his reaction to everything that goes wrong is kind of like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Like he literally is like, oh, darn. Like now I'm screwed. Like he doesn't act like any gangster in any crime movie or noir that we're used to seeing. Now, again, I'm not excusing, like the fact is he still kills Jenny. Yeah. He's not a good guy. He still makes bad choices and he's a criminal, but the movie needs him to mirror as closely as he does Wilson. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
He needs to be a good guy, bad guy on the same level that Wilson is, so that he can mirror the same type of father figure in Jenny's life. And so casting Fonda here again, and you're right, I think, Mike, he is a vampire, but you're right, vampires in that way are also they're seductive.
Yeah,
and they're gonna come off. They're not gonna play themselves like they're the devil. They're gonna be seductive, and they're gonna seem like the kind of person you want to be around, at least at nighttime.
I want to get real quick, Greg, to the 90s part of this, because I'm sure we'll get to this later, but there's an argument to be made that most of this movie is memory, right? And it's thoughts in Wilson's head. And so when we're with Wilson or anybody his age, like Terry Valentine, that I do think that there brings a more 60s feel. When it comes to stuff that there's no way Wilson could remember, then what happens? That's when the movie completely shifts. And when we get to Nicky Katt and his friend, his partner, all of a sudden we're now with a character who is basically like if Kevin Smith wrote a Quentin Tarantino character. And everything now is like, I'm going to comment on what it's like to be in a 90s movie. When we're outside of the people who were 60s icons, everything, like, it's just fast talking. It's a joke a minute. It's like, this is not the same style of person anymore. So even if the camera movement doesn't change, Soderbergh is saying that people from the 60s act like this and people from the 90s act like this. And I think Nicky Katt is perfect casting here as this like fast talking motor mouth assassin. Like in the 90s movies, everyone is a criminal. They're all, too precocious. And we're standing there watching him do a monologue on a set for no reason other than this is what 90s movies do. This is not what 60s movies did. Yeah. This is what 90s movies did.
And like so Wilson's a murderer, right? But he has a code. There's honor there, and there is less than nothing. In Stacy says when the lawyer goes to hire him, he's just like, "You're bullshit, man. I live this life. I do this because I love it. I could easily get out of it, but I am all about this, and you are a pretender. There is no code to the 90s."
Yeah, great point.
And I think we all agree on that, having been through it.
All right, let's get a quick review of the scores here. Ryan, you're coming in at 11 points. Mike, you've got 9 points. And Adam, you have 12 points and the lead. But everything's up for grabs when it's time for trivia when we come back.
Holy shit.
It is time for trivia. You know the rules. Please allow me to read the entire question before ringing in. Ring in by saying your own name, and then I will call on you, and then answer the question. And remember, whatever I wrote down here is the correct answer, so try to say that one.
Oh, I dare you to argue with Greg and see how that affects your score.
See how it does for you. Okay. In his commentary for the movie, Steven Soderbergh mentions he thinks, quote, "This one turned out better than the first one," referring to his first collaboration with Lem Dobbs on what 1991 movie?
Adam.
King
of the Hill?
Not King of the Hill. Any other guesses?
Ryan.
Mike?
I don't think this is right, but Dark City?
Not right. Lem Dobbs did write that, though. Ryan?
Is it Kafka?
It is Kafka. Very good, Ryan. Very Kafka-esque.
Thank you.
How long did it take to make this movie?
Ryan,
Ryan,
28 days.
not 28 days. Anybody else?
Mike, 30 days.
Mike, no, sir.
Adam,
Adam,
2 weeks.
9 months
Whoa.
to make the whole thing, not just to shoot it, not just principal photography.
Okay.
To make the movie took him 9 months. Footage from the movie Poor Cow was used to show Wilson as a young man. In what year did the movie Poor Cow come out?
Ryan,
Ryan,
I would say early 67.
boom, there it is, 67. Very good. What Kelly Reichardt movie does this instantly make me think of?
Mike,
Adam,
Mike,
First Cow.
First Cow, very good. What did I originally think the movie First Cow must be about when I heard the title?
Ryan,
Ryan,
first cow on the moon, the cow that jumped over the moon. It was the biography of that cow.
I love that answer, so I am going to give you a point. It just happens to be wrong. Anybody else?
Mike,
Mike?
the first cow ever domesticated.
No. I thought it was about the president's cow. I thought it was going to be about the president has a cow. It's the first cow.
The way everybody thinks First Wives Club is about the president's wives.
All the president's wives.
That's what you
I would
don't.
see a movie called
That's
All
what
the
you get when you don't
President's
hail to the cow.
Wives. What is the first song in the movie called?
Adam,
Adam.
The Seeker.
And it's played by who?
Isn't it The Who?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's played by the Who. What other 1999 movie of the year contender also used the track The Seeker?
Ryan,
Ryan?
barely a contender. Greg, barely a contender. It is Lester Burnham working out in American Beauty.
Hell yeah. American Beauty, a movie that is technically in contention for movie of the year. During the 1960s, one of the Who's 2 managers was named Christopher Stamp. Why have I brought this up?
Mike.
Adam.
Adam?
Well, he has to be related to Terence Stamp. Do I have
How
to
is he
say
related
the
to Terence
relation?
Stamp, Adam? I don't want to.
I'm going to say he's the father of Terence Stamp.
He's not the father of Terence Stamp. Mike?
Mike, he's the uncle of Terence Stamp.
Ryan,
Right?
Then
brother.
it's got to be brother, right? Ryan?
Brother of Terence Stamp.
That was the other guess. Come on.
Wilson calls Eduardo Ruel Fangio during a brief car chase. What is this a reference to?
He calls him Fangio?
Fangio.
Mike.
Says, oi, slow down, Fangio.
Mike, because Fangio kind of rhymes with banjo, which is an American instrument, and that means he's an American in the stupid fucking made-up language Cockneys speak.
No, sir.
Ryan.
Pretty close, but not right. Ryan?
He's a palindrome.
He's not a
Palindrome.
palindrome.
Race car driver.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
trying to
He
use
is
Cockney
a race
slang
car
here.
driver. He's an F1 champion. F1. What do we think? Sound off.
Mike.
Mike.
I think it's the fucking best sport ever.
Host play here. Ryan.
Ryan.
It's my least favorite key on a keyboard.
Any other answers? F1. What do we think?
Adam?
Sound off. Adam.
I thought you were talking about the movie, and I think the movie's fine.
All right.
Fine
Adam
one.
is correct. The movie is fine. Eduardo Ruel is seen wearing T-shirts with various famous political figures on them. Name them.
Ryan.
Ryan.
I think there was a Che.
There was a Che. Okay, very good.
How many do I have to name?
No, that was what that was sufficient. There was also the Ayatollah Khomeini, and Mao Zedong.
Did it say Ayatollah Asahola?
That's 2 Simpsons references just in trivia.
What does Eduardo's neck tattoo say?
Mike.
Mike?
Lois?
No. I don't know why I think that's funny, but no, that's not correct.
I just remember a name.
Hey, Lois.
Ryan.
Ryan.
It says wino, but it used to say Winona, and he changed it up and broke up.
It says Rosa.
I was close.
What aspect of the film made it an uphill battle with Artisan, according to Soderbergh?
Oh, Ryan.
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. I should say that more often. Was it the use of other material, like footage from Poor Cow and...
Not according to when Soderbergh was quoted this time.
That's an answer that does make
Adam.
sense, though.
Adam,
The nonlinear editing structure.
not the non-linear
Okay.
editing structure.
Mike,
Mike, do you have a guess?
That it's kind of like it's not a happy ending.
Most of the three most important characters in the movie are over 50.
Sure.
So Elaine is over 50, Wilson
That's
is over
ageism.
50, Valentine's over 50. Actually, Barry or Avery rather is also over 50, and
Mhm.
it was tough to get artists into like agree that would be a good idea. The scene where Wilson buys his guns was originally set where?
Ryan,
Ryan?
like a gun convention?
A gun show. According to writer Lem Dobbs, what was the scene in both its form that they didn't get to use the gun show? So instead, they go and they buy it at a park or from some kids at a schoolyard. In both of these versions, what is Lem Dobbs, the writer? What did he say his intention was to show?
Ryan,
Mike.
Ryan?
how wiggity whack the 90s were?
Mike?
How gun obsessed America is.
Yeah, because Lem Dobbs grew up in England, and so it's like obviously he's like writing from kind of like an English perspective, and so it's supposed to remind us that like where Wilson is from, the police don't carry guns,
Right.
and the idea that you could just go to a show where they're showing a bunch of them and just buy some, or a park and buy some from like 15-year-olds, it's supposed to show like, wow, America, are you sure you're okay?
Mhm.
The answer to that question is no.
Prescient.
What part? Yeah, I know, right? What part of the movie does Soderbergh himself say is 50% too long?
Ryan,
Ryan.
I'm going to say that I disagree if this is the correct answer, but the conversation between Terence and Leslie?
No.
Adam.
Adam.
That was going to be my first. That was going to be my answer too. But I'm thinking maybe the car chase.
No. Mike, do you have a guess?
Mike, the final shootout.
No, it is, and I totally agree with this. Lem Dobbs is like chucking like insults at Soderbergh nonstop. This is the one thing Soderbergh says he thinks he didn't get right. I hate when movies do this. The scene where he's walking into the party and walking up to Valentine and shooting him, and we see him imagine it 3 different times. It only takes like 2 minutes, but I think he's right. It's about a minute,
and it does the 3 times. It happens so much that there is a certain point you're like, oh, he's not going to shoot him.
Yeah,
it's doing the thing too much.
The other thing I would have cut down by 50% is I would have done half as much Poor Cow and then had some of the flashbacks be from Superman 2 with him as
Hell
Zod.
yes.
And
Like when he's in the
Just
rectangle.
in the negative zone.
I spent 9 years in the negative zone.
you know what, audience? You make sense of that shit. That's on you.
Sorry, it's Phantom
layered.
Zone. Negative Zone's Marvel. I don't want the
It's
fucking
l-
nerds coming out.
It's layered and complex, like the commentary itself.
That's where his jail was.
The 2 hitmen played by Joe D'Alessandro and Nicky Katt have what relationship in the script?
Mike.
Nephew
and uncle.
They are an uncle and a nephew.
An LMFAO, if you will.
All right, Mike, that's 2 points. 1 for anticipating the next question. But then 1 point for Ryan and Adam, because that is illegal. You can't do that. You have to wait till I read the question.
Sorry.
What allowed writer Lem Dobbs to recognize Terence Stamp when he saw him walking down the street, even though he could not see Terence Stamp's face?
Ryan.
What is so notable about Terence Stamp that even if you couldn't see his face, you could recognize him?
Ryan. Oh, his face?
Well, not his face.
Not
You
his
couldn't
face.
see
Okay.
his face.
If Stamp is anything like Wilson, I'm going to say the cigarette smoke or the smell coming off of him. You know he's in the area.
Not that cigarette and Old Spice combination. It is his very unusual loping gait. I thought they said to Terence Stamp, just walk in this scene, and he did that thing where you're like, what? How do people walk? What's going on? But apparently that's just the way that guy walks, like almost jumping into the air and then landing. Early in the production, Steven Soderbergh told Barry Newman, who plays Valentine's security consultant Avery, that his character should be conceived of as having what relationship to Valentine. Not that they literally have this relationship, but that Avery ought to act towards Valentine as if they have what type of relationship.
Ryan.
Ryan.
I'm going to go with an answer that worked for me before. I'm going to say brother.
Not brothers.
Mike.
Although I can kind of see that. Mike.
Lovers.
Very close. Adam, could you get even closer than that?
No.
I'll give it to
dense
Mike.
this evening.
This is honestly, you next time you watch this movie, which might be a while because the show will be over, but keep this in mind because I think this is like really does kind of open up something in the movie. Soderbergh said to Barry Newman, "It's like you're his ex-wife who just kind of stayed around," and that's why. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but every time Avery gives him bad news, he does it in the most like triggering way possible, and he pecks at him the entire time, and he like is always kind of like ominously looking at Peter Fonda.
You know, I looked up Avery to see who he was because I thought it was stunt casting that he was an old school agent. Like, there's something about the glasses and the way he talks. Like, it feels like he comes from that school.
The best line where he embodies exactly what you said is when he tells them about the friends who get killed down at the warehouse, and Terry goes, "Was it the blacks?"
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And he goes, "No, Terry, it wasn't the blacks."
That is the height of white culture.
Yeah.
Like white on white crime, and you're like, who could that have been?
How he's dressed, and because he's like running the show, he feels like Elliot Gould in Ocean's 11.
Yeah. A little bit.
I still owe you from that thing with the guy.
I do think that like Elliot Gould. I do think they had Elliot Gould's like oeuvre in mind. I think he's kind of represented across a few different characters. And then last but not least, the relationship between Avery and Valentine, that of being like a divorced couple. Which two knuckleheaded podcasters might this accurately describe?
Ryan?
Mike and Ryan. That's right. Yes, Mike and Ryan. Good job. Well done, guys.
We'll fight about you two later.
Our very own divorced couple. Let's get a score update. That is the end of trivia. Ryan, you are clocking in at 21 points. Mike, you are clocking in at 15 points. And Adam, you are tied with Mike at 15 points. And we will be back right after this short break. We've brought it up a lot ourselves, and it's time to get into it here. The most discussed aspect of the Limey, even today, is its editing. It's a bold decision that studios couldn't have been super happy with in 99. How happy are we with it now, and why do we think it was edited in this way, Mike?
So happy. Answer 1A. 1B, and it took me a while to get... I think, in Dealer's Choice, I think the whole thing kind of takes place in his head on the way home, because you start out the airplane, so you're like, okay, he's landing, but the reason like conversations happen in different scenes, like he talks to Luis Guzman, it's like one conversation, but they're in the car, they're at a table, they're moving. It's like when you're remembering stuff, you're like, I don't really know where that fucking happened, and so it's just like this blurry, and especially he's probably not sleeping, he's just all rage and adrenaline trying to hunt down his daughter's killer, and so I think it captures that poor memory mindset very well. Mike out.
I like it. So that's one potential, is that it's like the whole thing is kind of his memory, right? Because I think it's very clear there are moments where he's remembering his own past, right? Going back to like poor cow. But you're saying that like maybe the whole thing, because that is a good explanation for then why these conversations are sort of like intermixed in this way. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I 100% like the two, I think, giveaways are the airport, or the airplane rather, sitting on the airplane, and he's raw dogging it. He does not have a book or an iPad, so all he has is his memories, which is just the worst case scenario for anyone. So it's the shots of him on the airplane and the ocean waves, the sound of ocean waves that just fill his brain and fill our screen. It's like a giveaway to what's real and what's not. I think that this, for I would say about 12, 15 minutes, I was like, all right, Soderbergh, you need to settle down, buddy. This is a little out of control. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, no one else can ever do this again. It has been perfected. And this idea of nonlinear editing in order to, talk about memories has been done. I think that so often we think of the unreliable narrator as like lying to us purposefully. Like you have an agenda, and for whatever reason, whether you're evil or you want to make yourself look better, but for the unreliable narrator here to just be the same unreliable narrator that all of us are, that when we sit there and it's a little bit hard to remember the exact time or scene that this was said, I think it just does its job so well. The fact, and typically, especially in the 90s, with Sundance movies, this kind of idea I think would be done with literally no plot. the fact that he layered this on top of a genre movie is the most Soderbergh thing ever. And I think it was perfect.
I think everything you guys have said is right on. And I alluded to this earlier. The whole movie for me is about reckoning with your past. And so it is fundamentally about memory. And it is fundamentally about reliving that relationship through this kind of fragmented prism. And it then for me takes on something greater than just, I'm Steven Soderbergh, I'm going to play around with editing. It fundamentally serves the story in this case and the characters. And the key for me, and here again, we can go back to the commentary. I don't know if Soderbergh ever does say what drew him to this. We know he was already working with this style before this, right? He was playing around with this, not to this extent, but he was doing this in Out of Sight already. But the line here for me that is really key, and I would almost propose that I wonder if he saw this in the script and then said, okay, that unlocks it for me. Like this tells me how I want to if not shoot the movie, how I want to edit the movie. It's when Wilson says, and I think this is to Elaine, she says, do you even remember the last time you saw her? And he says, I remember every time I saw her. I watched her grow up in increments.
Yeah.
Right? So the movie becomes about increments. And that's why that nonlinear structure then fundamentally works for me. And I want to go back to what I said too about the connection between, Fonda, Valentine and Stamp, Wilson. One of the surprises for me, I said there's always surprises when you just you remember the movie that's in your memory. You sort of have your own fragment of what was the movie I saw originally. And is that the movie I remember? I was sure that the movie ends, or maybe it begins and is in the middle too, right? It's Soderbergh. But I was sure that the movie ends with him killing Terry Valentine. And he does not kill Terry Valentine, right? Like it's not the revenge tale I remember fundamentally because he doesn't actually act out the revenge that he came for, right? So for this father,
and why not, Adam? Why in your reckoning? Why not?
Well, it's such a hard thing. Even for the next day after I sat with this movie, I thought I understand, or I think I understand on a I guess I should say on a emotional level or on a psychological level, why Wilson, and I'll try to articulate it, why Wilson might not do it, why the movie might think it's poignant for him not to do it. And at the same time, I guess the father in me, or just the, there's enough bloodlust in me. I was imagining a situation where someone I cared about, it doesn't have to be my daughter, someone I deeply cared about. It doesn't matter what the reasons were. It doesn't matter if they didn't mean to do it. It doesn't matter if the person I deeply loved that person. If they killed them, I would probably want to still get my revenge. Right?
Yeah.
But in the terms of this film, and here again, if we think about it as past, present, and even future, all sort of with this nonlinear structure, all happening at once. It isn't linear, right? So it's all we have to imagine it all kind of taking place in Stamp's, in Wilson's psyche at once, all kind of playing out at once. That revelation for that character at the end, to realize that the Jenny that he remembers from his past, the Jenny that he in essence raised, not just raised right as a father, but raised to be the woman who might be drawn to a criminal like figure, and who was so fundamentally good, it was in her nature to be that girl, that woman who would be so disappointed that she would threaten to call the authorities, do everything in her power to shut it down. And the tragic irony there at the end, right? And I don't know how you guys feel about this or how you read it, because it's a big difference between being a girl, the little girl that Wilson describes, playing a game, if you will, with her father, versus being the woman Jenny is at the end. But I think there's a potential reading where with her father, he says, she'd pick up the phone and say, I'm going to call the cops, but she never would.
And
right?
he knew that.
And he knew that. Now, Terry Valentine doesn't know that. Terry Valentine doesn't know what Wilson knows, that she may not, or probably not, or would not actually follow through with it. That's why she goes down and tries to stop it, right? She goes down to the warehouse to try to stop it.
It gets in these guys' faces. Yeah.
She gets in their
Screams
faces.
at
She
them.
tries to do everything she can to stop it. And she even maybe picks up the phone, but she's not actually going to call the cops. But Terry doesn't know that. And so for Wilson at the end, it's not that he's forgiven Terry, or it's not that he, I would say even in some way, fully blames himself, and here again, it has exonerated Terry. But he does see this as all part of a larger, I don't know. Yeah. A game is the wrong word, but a larger plot that is played out, and
all of these moving pieces,
all these moving pieces. And I think in some way has realized that it's not his role at this point to, like, Jenny made, in some way, Jenny is not the little girl anymore. Jenny is the woman that she is and made choices, and it's not his job anymore to be the father who has to sort of protect his little girl, and it's not on him to punish Terry for this. And it ties back to, in some way, letting Terry off the hook for what he couldn't have known, and also in some way honoring her choice, though, because what she was doing was fundamentally driven by the same love for him that she had for her father. Yeah. And that's powerful. That like I can see why he would, even though also I can see why he'd still want to put a bullet in him. I can see why he would say, this isn't the move.
I also think that Terry Valentine bled out on that beach, so it's fine. But
okay. See, there's another reading.
I think that there's two things going on.
But he doesn't pull the trigger.
He doesn't pull the trigger, and I think that's important because I think there's two things going on. I think he sees, like Adam was talking about, how the similarities between him and Terry Valentine. Between Wilson and Terry Valentine, they both don't scream Martha at each other, but I think that he sees, oh my gosh. And two, like, all I have as a parent of my daughter before she was younger than she is right now are the memories, right? And I've never been to jail, and so I have all of them. He has so many fewer memories than I ever will. Hopefully I never get caught for anything, but he's protecting his memories. If he had shot Terry Valentine, that would have been the end of the story. That would have taken up memory space. He would have been sitting on that plane thinking about that death, that murder. And instead, I feel like he's almost protecting his other memory. I need to go sit on that plane and think about Jenny, not Terry. That's who's important here.
And he is doing that. That's a great point, Ryan. With the nonlinear editing, some of those smiles can be interpreted as him literally thinking about her. Mm-hmm. Some of those cuts, and with the sound, it feels that way.
And if Jenny had such a strong sense of right and wrong, killing a guy at the end and then going back to jail would have just disappointed her one more time.
Right.
Like, I think that end is very connected. The first line of the movie, I think, is him very, like, at the time it seems very aggressive, but then you, like, rewatching, like, it's just desperate. Is just saying, tell me about Jenny. And it doesn't ever really show you who he's talking to. Maybe it's Ed. Maybe it happens to Elaine, but it feels like that's the sense of anytime he meets anybody who knew her as an adult, he's desperate to know who she became because he was not.
Yeah, tell me about her. There are some other interesting choices that are made here on top of the editing. One is Wilson does a lot of looking deeply into the camera. Do you think that's a stylized choice? And if so, what is that choice doing for us? Or is it Terence Stamp occasionally being like, whoops?
I'm gonna put my stamp on this movie. Yeah, I think that, like, I think that despite the amount of time that we spend with Terry and Stacy, this is so clearly Wilson's movie, and it might just be a reset for us. Like, hey, we're simpatico, right? Like, I'm the guy that, even though I'm a criminal, I'm your man. I don't know. It's a good question. Why don't you answer, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I don't think anything happens by accident in Soderbergh's movies. So it feels like it further internalizes some of these things we're talking about. So much of this movie feels like it's happening inside of his head, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess I think in part Soderbergh is trying to erase some of the lines between reality and movie reality in the same way that memories erase the difference between reality and our understanding of reality. And so it invites us to be like, to get pushed outside the movie in the same way that, like, when Peter Fonda starts telling his stories, you can tell they're just Peter Fonda stories. Like, even the viewer on the first time knows that this isn't in the dialogue. This is a guy just telling a story from his life. And I think that it's trying to, erase some of those boundaries to make us a little bit more accepting. One other thing I want to say about the editing is Soderbergh says that it was a choice he made, not out of necessity. But I do have to say, I think that the editing really helps cover up for some kind of clunky performances. I love Luis Guzman, but I don't in this movie. He finally finds it, but for the first 20 minutes of the movie, I don't think if we had the editing to sort of engage us, I think we would be looking at some performances that are a little stiff. And I do think that, like, Peter Fonda, I think they finally had to make a deal with him where they're just like, just talk, dude.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a Soderbergh, it says in the commentary at one point, he says, yeah, Peter was really loose in this scene. And it's like, yeah, you can see when this guy's not loose. It's when they're handing him a script and they're saying, say these lines, and he doesn't know what to do. So they're like, when you exit this scene, say something from you, Peter. When you're talking to Edhara here, tell her a story about your actual life. And so I think that editing allows a little bit of a cover up of the fact that there are some performances in this movie that just, for whatever reason, people weren't quite like there when it came time to film. I do think everybody picks it up. I don't know what order they shot this in, but I do feel like after 20 minutes, everything is just off to the races and everything just kind of functions pretty well.
Do you guys remember the phenomenon that was Ulee's Gold?
I was just going to bring it up because I remember that being, I don't think I had seen Easy Rider at that point when I saw Ulee's Gold, and I just remember it being, this was a big deal. He was going to get an Oscar nomination. It was the comeback of Peter Fonda. And I remember then even feeling the same sort of awkwardness that I feel
Stiffness.
watching him here.
Mm.
I again think that his casting here is so essential to the movie. I really think
I agree with that.
It's so essential to the film for so many reasons that we've talked about. But in terms of purely his performance, I don't know that I've ever felt, even in Easy Rider, he also embodies something more than he actually performs on the level that Dennis Hopper or Jack Nicholson does. I don't think that Peter Fonda, I'll say I don't think Peter Fonda is fundamentally a great actor. And I think that bears out in this film too.
Can you imagine Dennis Hopper as Terry Valentine?
Kind of, yeah. And you know what?
Scarier.
You know what? Not only did, of course, Peter Fonda do the American Express ad, but Dennis Hopper famously sold out and did the Nike ad.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will.
He could have done that speech.
Some advice from '97 from Ulee's Gold. If you want your movie to live forever, put double vowels in the title, because Ulee's Gold is a crossword clue. Blank Gold 1997 film is in almost every crossword. So do that, movie titlers.
And please say the full name: City Slickers 2, The Legend of Ulee's Gold. Come on.
I apologize.
Let's get a score update here before we move on. Ryan, you have 30 points. Mike, you are up to 21. And Adam, you are at 26. When we come back, a little more conversation and a little more action. As we have been doing this entire season, of course, we have a second feature tonight, a movie that we did a show about the first time we did the 1999 season. And so, of course, we have to talk a little bit about it again. This one is 10 Things I Hate About You. It is not in contention to be movie of the year because it was not originally. It was not originally in contention to be movie of the year, but it could win some Moody's and it could win some hearts. So go out there and check it out, everybody. So our second movie is 10 Things I Hate About You. Joining the trend of classic pieces of literature turned into campy 90s teen movies, 10 Things About You follows the adventures of a bunch of horny teens, but this time with feelings. and a bunch of out-of-touch adults who lack the ability to provide any meaningful guidance while constantly resorting to small shows of force to mask these deficiencies. Based on The Taming of the Shrew by one Billy Shakes, we follow the travails of the opinionated and misunderstood cat as she considers whether or not to date the hottest, tallest, most Australian boy on campus. Unfortunately, because in teen comedies everything must be a bed or a payoff or something, her potential beau, Patrick, is being bribed to woo her by a rich asshole who wants to get with her younger sister. Gentlemen, I ask you this. Is this movie really doing anything with the fact that it's based on Taming of the Shrew? Is that important in any way? And why do we think that the movie bothers to do that?
Easier to map your characters to a plot that's tried and true than come up with your own plot.
Okay, I like that. So a huge crutch for the makers of the movie.
It was very du jour. I don't know who started it, but everybody was doing it. Why not?
William
do it too?
Shakespeare.
William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That was
I
his
have
movie
heard
that started it.
They literally saw Clueless and they were like, "That's a good idea."
Yeah, and somebody was like, "Emma's Shakespeare, right? Let's do that." And so yeah, Clueless probably is the like, hey, wait, there's all this old shit. What we can do, but why I do think it works, especially in the 2000s, why I think Kat is a great rom-com heroine is while she does end up with a guy, she doesn't compromise her morals too much versus a lot of rom-com, especially teen rom-com ladies. She, just like the original Kat, this is what girls should be. And I'd say in 99, 2000, this general era, Britney Spears wasn't like out there doing it for herself, making her own decisions at the time. And she was like a role model. So I do think she's good counter programming, because if kids watch this, it is crazy to me if you watch this and be like, my favorite's Bianca, the vapid, know nothing piece of shit.
Well, when this movie came out, my favorite was Bianca. I will tell you that.
Sure.
Much for free. But I totally agree, Mike. I think that a major thing that the movie has to offer, besides both Joker and Robin from Christopher Nolan's series, is what is the shrew in your generation, right?
Right.
And what like I think it changes with every generation of what the manosphere thinks of when they think of like that woman that is awful, and really it's just because they hate them. And so we explore what that meant in 99 in as one of the many things we explore in 1999. You know, this is absolutely nothing like any high school that has ever existed. It takes place in a fucking castle. But
Harry Potter.
Oh shit, you're right.
And notice, lest anybody not realize like what this is based on, the high school is not called Padua High. It's called Padua. That's the only name the high school has. It has the name of a city.
We didn't say Edison High when we was kids.
But it's called
said it was
Edison High. No,
Okay.
like if you look at if they'll run in like and you'll see the name of the school and it just is Padua. Like it's never once referred to as Padua High. It's always just, or Padua, I guess you say it.
I wish you guys would stop explaining things like we're all in our 40s, still hang out, and all went to the same high school together. Like,
Not together.
I guess not together, but
We
We all went there 10 years apart, let's say.
I want to. That you should definitely stop mentioning. I don't care about the high school thing anymore. Just stop saying that. I really want Greg to ask you a question, if I may.
Okay.
Because
It's highly unorthodox, but I will allow it.
in the original 99 season, Mike and I did this. I believe you weren't on that episode, right? Was this the first time you've seen this movie?
It's not the first time I've seen this movie, but I do think I was on the original show, to be honest.
Oh, okay. We did it as like a Patreon bonus. Just as
Yeah.
like, there's no way this movie is going to make the bracket, but we love this movie. This movie, I think, was like the number 2 seed coming into 1999 Part 2. Is there anything in this movie that, like, can you explain this? Can you at least figure it out, even if it's not your favorite movie of all time?
Why it's so popular?
Compared to other movies of its ilk, yeah.
Well, one thing I'll say is it is a music-forward production, and the music is used, I think, very effectively. There's a couple scenes where when the flyers are thrown down the stairwell and the music hits, like if you got feelings, you're going to feel them right there. And it's like, it's not like a dramatic moment in a movie. It's just a dramatic shot, and it's good music. I think that there is a liveliness to the dialogue. Inspired, like that's one place where I think it wears its Shakespearean influence on its sleeve, but yet doesn't like demand that you recognize that. Two characters just kind of like spitting back and forth a really quick dialogue is very Shakespearean. And I thought that like it's got lovable characters. And I think there is something about how useless the adults are in this world that as an adult I honestly find challenging in a way, but I think that really tracks for young people, that like adults are so wrapped up in their own weirdness, and yet for whatever reason they think that they can like dispense wisdom to you at random intervals, and it's like, you have no idea what's going on in your own life. Why would you suddenly and so like I think that despite the fact that it is kind of like an unrealistic movie, it's almost like it's a layer of unreality on top of a whole bunch of very real concepts that I think young people through the generations might experience.
Yeah, I definitely think it has that spark for sure. And it's just amped up. Everything's amped up. That helps it carry it through its like lesser scenes or worse dialogue. I legitimately think Larry Miller having her put the stomach on before she goes out on a date.
Oh yeah, dude.
That legit holds up.
Well, Larry Miller, and I do. This is the one thing I remember from our OG Patreon version is all we did was talk about Larry Miller and how much we love him.
Yeah, I mean he's not on screen that much, but he's like basically killing it nonstop. And yeah, that like also Larry Miller doesn't say this line, but at the end of that scene when Patrick walks in and goes, "Who knocked up your sister?" That's pretty good. Also,
do you remember why, Mike, we talked about Larry Miller so much?
We love him,
and
we mentioned him on the Drew Carey Show,
and we mentioned how in 5th grade. My class did Shakespeare, and it was Taming of the Shrew, and I played Baptista. Who in this movie is played by Larry Miller.
I did not remember that.
So you guys have played the same role.
Yeah, you're the Larry Miller in my life. I always say,
Mike.
Go.
Do you this movie to me kind of like every song kind of like sounds like a different type of your musical taste.
Yep.
Did this movie neatly fit with that, or did this movie inspire that?
I wonder. I think at this point I was like, let's just female-led ska. Let's just talk about that for a second. I was into No Doubt because my older sister, but then I do think this definitely introduced probably her and definitely me to Letters to Cleo and Save Ferris.
And let's make it clear that they're both in the movie, both those bands, not their songs. Save Ferris, the band, and Letters to Cleo, the band, are in the movie as characters.
Right.
So,
and like, don't they occupy the stage at like kind of the same time?
Letters to Ferris comes out.
Yeah, you see Save Ferris first, and then later Ferris joins Cleo at prom. And then one of them is on the roof of said castle.
Yeah, like
credits.
Kind of not in the universe of the movie, kind of just like something that happens outside the reality that we've just been witnessing.
In the credits, it says like helicopter, blah, blah, blah. You did all that money just for that? That was, oh guys, we have to spend this money or they will give us a smaller budget in our next movie.
11 things.
I want to say why I think this holds up is I think this movie threads the needle in an impressive way of it is mocking other teen comedies, but not in a not another teen movie. It is not a spoof,
but almost.
The tongue is in cheek, and no scene more. It's throughout the movie, but no scene more than Krumholtz guiding JGL through the high school.
Yeah,
where he's just like, it starts off like, yeah, those are the popular kids. And by the end, he's like, and those are cowboys. He's like, yep, you got it.
These kids drink coffee. These guys are businessmen.
Yeah.
That's the closest it comes to a spoof, but I think the opening scene, if I remember correctly, like we get a bunch of shots of Seattle. This movie very much takes place in Seattle. It wants you to know that it was shot on location. But
Troll Bridge.
When the bare naked ladies, finally calm down, we land on a car of girls that should be starring in the movie. Right. Those are the 4 girls that we see in every other movie. And then they hear Kat come up and they glare at Kat, and we never see those girls again. They just sort of hand the movie off to her. And so that's not spoofy, but that is sort of like announcing itself, you know?
Right. It's playing with the tropes for sure. And I think he plays the douchebag Joey. It's not Andrew Keegan, is it? It's one of those. Andrew Keegan. His character, I think he knows exactly what he is playing, that douchebag who is in every. Sometimes he's the main character's chasing after him. Sometimes but here he's pure villain. And it is one of the spoofiest parts. It is he turns around and screams, "Fight!" like at the camera. And it's just like, he is like, aren't teen movies dumb?
Yeah.
And I love it.
Also, there's like the archery scene
Yes.
just going on in the background. A teacher gets shot with an arrow, and Bianca looks over and then like kind of shrugs and looks back. Like it feels kind of infused with a spoofish
Yes.
energy.
David Leisure, who was like the car commercial guy in the
Mr.
80s.
Chapin.
And
He's a hardworking guy.
was on the show Empty Nest, pops into this movie as if we're all supposed to laugh and cheer that he's in this. No teenager in 1999 knows who the fuck this guy is, but
Is he the guy who gets shot and then is the detention teacher?
and then is the detention guy. Just the camera goes to him like, oh my God, it's David Leisure.
Yeah.
Everything that involves him, from the fact that he's cast to getting shot in the ass with an arrow to getting flashed to stealing weed and Cheetos. It's
Hell
just,
yeah.
Wild cameo.
His timing when he stops next to he's just confiscated the weed and he stops next to the desk with the Cheetos, and the Cheetos are like very big on the screen.
Yeah.
And he stops and he just looks at them and he's like, these two. His timing there is absolutely perfect. Did this movie feel like it had to you the requisite amount of 90s like out of nowhere homophobia?
Yeah.
Where it was just like two characters would be talking and they'd be like, wow, man, you're really important to me. I love you. Not in that kind of way, though.
Right.
And the other guy, but you can't say that to me in front of everybody.
And it's almost, I don't think so. I think it was just of its time and everything was just kind of gross and we were all ignorant. But having Patrick Verona never be somebody who says that, like, he is the person everybody is scared of, but is actually the most emotionally mature, most elevated, heightened, okay with himself person in this whole movie is telling.
Is everyone just afraid of him because he's tall and Australian and a new kid? Like, why is he so scary?
Yeah, I think just they knew Kat and watched her change, so they hate that she is not conforming. Here's a guy who showed up and never played by their rules and sneers at all of them. So yes, I think he more than anybody has a built 30-year-old's body, and that is very scary to be around in high school.
Well, when you're 30, you have a 30-year-old's body. That's how it works out.
Yes.
I think also too, like because like what Mike said, that they weren't around to watch him become a eater of bats or whatever the fuck rumors there are. He
sold his own liver.
He does not correct anybody at any point. And
Right.
the rumors about you in high school are like, for that time, the most devastating thing. And he's like, all right, I'm not going to lead into it, but I'm going to appreciate the quiet.
He plays with fire, his hand in the Bunsen burner.
Okay, that's true.
He drills through people. Like, he does like have the veneer of don't fuck with me.
He's got his
Yeah.
punk rock little buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He never says a line.
I noticed this time, for most of the movie very much reads as this guy is a widower and here are his
Mhm.
daughters that he's taking care of. And at one point, Bianca puts on a necklace that her mom
A pearl
left,
necklace.
I guess. And she's like, she's not coming back, right? And but then it's like the mom isn't dead. She just left the family.
Wow.
Abandoned them.
If you were married to this Larry Miller character, wouldn't you bail too?
But I think that's, again, what elevates this from so many movies. Like, that, once you learn that, you're like, okay, I know why he's crazy. So maybe as a kid watching it, like, oh, all adults have some reason they're doing things, even if we don't agree with them. And it makes so much why Bianca went the gross way she went, why Kat went the way she went. Like, that,
Yeah.
again, there's a nuance that a lot of these teen movies don't have. Get Over It does not do this.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is we have an award that this movie's not eligible for, but the award is Cringiest Moment. Is this an exceedingly cringy movie? Like, as much as we love it, do we love it in spite of cringiness? Can you think of several moments from this movie that are incredibly cringy to you?
Yeah, but isn't that just any teen movie? There's not a single teen movie where like, no cringe. Even fucking Booksmart, a modern one that like is closer to our sensibilities, has cringe.
Yeah.
I've seen Booksmart
Teens are
recently,
cringe.
and it's got so many moments that are worse than this movie. Of just like, ugh,
And
what are you doing with the dialogue here?
And I don't even necessarily mean cringe the way I normally mean it, which is like something that's like not socially acceptable anymore.
Mhm.
But like, let me tell you, when Mr. Morgan like raps that sonnet,
Yeah.
that's a dark moment, dude. That is
Well-
like, that's hard to get through. And then when Kat does her own
Oh,
poem,
for sure.
that's like one of the hardest moments to get through in cinema history. I've seen all of Come and See. I'm more traumatized by
The
listening.
Russian kid walks up and hugs her and is like, "This is hard for you."
It gets better.
There's a lot of lines too that like, and I think like Mike was saying about how these movies don't age well, and it's not just the homophobia, it's the everything. Like, one scene with Larissa Olenek and Gabrielle Union, and they're like, she's like, you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you be whelmed? Which, you know, that's fine. That right so far we're fine. And then Larissa Olenek says, I think only in Europe. What the fuck? Like, how did that get past all of the filmmakers to be in the movie?
You with that the Gabrielle Union's line, you're just at Joss Whedon. Isn't it funny to make people talk dumb? Like this is, but yeah, the only in Europe. You're like, oh no, you actually didn't know what you had.
Yeah, you just pulled out of the random punchline hat and threw that in there.
Only in Europe.
I felt like the movie didn't know whether or not it wanted Bianca to be likable, and it didn't know whether or not it wanted Bianca to be smart, because Kat is smart and her dad is smart, and so obviously even a less intelligent member of that family is going to be pretty intelligent.
And by the end, I think she gets there. It's, again, what I think the mom piece is so important is she got abandoned at a very young age. So now she's going to do everything she can to make everybody love her. Because if she does that, they won't abandon her. And the movie, shockingly, does not have her say that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely there. But like, she grows, but I mean, she's still kind of annoying.
Yeah, I think the movie does an almost good job. Like, I think with a few more tweaks, there's stuff that goes against what I'm about to say. So that's what I'm saying. Tweak that shit out, and then I'll be right.
Yeah.
But I think the movie does a good job of when she's alone in her room, she is thoughtful. She is, you know, this normal, basic person. And then when she code switches, depending on what situation she's in. And just trying to find herself like any girl or any person her age. And I think that there's a couple of times where the movie betrays that, where she's just acting weird or different or dumb, and there's no explanation. Right. But for the most part, I think what I'm saying holds true.
I think the worst character, other than Andrew Keegan, clearly, but like maybe even worse, is Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
This guy is a fucking nice guy, dirtbag piece of shit. And Krumholtz calls him out. And I wish the movie was like, no, let's follow that. Krumholtz is totally right. And he's pretending she's a good person because he saw her for a second and she has a nice face. Like, everybody throughout the movie is making fun of him and how obsessed everybody is with her. But he thinks he's like this deep knit, like...
Yeah, he's an early nice guy. He really is.
It's Krumholtz who really toes the line, like we've talked about this whole segment, between the real movie and the spoof movie.
Yes.
And like, he's almost the one that can see through the looking glass here, people. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is that super two-dimensional character that sees the girl coming down the stairs in slow motion. And it just becomes unbelievable, especially when these characters grow and he doesn't. You know, he remains really thin and he remains petty.
Even when he calls her out, justifiably-ish so, and be like, you're just using me, bro. Not only were you just using her, you're using everybody around you to get to her. You are ruining people's lives because you want to kiss this girl.
You have upended the balance of an entire high school, my friend.
And he does not get a comeuppance.
And his name is Cameron James. I have to tell you, the names in this movie are tough to take sometimes. And Cameron James is a tough one.
Because two first names?
Because it seems very hard not to see that based on the name James Cameron. Yeah, it doesn't like sound like a name when you say it, but it seems like a reference to James Cameron. So this can't win movie of the year, but might it take down some Moody's? And if so, which ones do you think?
Musical moment.
And that's the promposal.
Yes.
Yeah. That not another teen movie would spoof perfectly with Janie's got a gun, and then everybody would freak out because they think the character Janie has a gun and run away.
Is that the whole reason that character was named Janie? Just so they could have that moment?
1,000%.
And then on-screen duo, I could really see Patrick and Kat getting on-screen duo. I mean, they are very interesting to watch. The two most attractive, most interesting, most intelligent people in the entire movie. And I think like there's a realness to their relationship.
If that relationship was less, if that chemistry was less, I think it would really be more glaring how at the end of the movie, Kat is like, Patrick, we are almost out of runtime, and I need to forgive you right the fuck now. But because they're so charming together, you're just like, yeah, whatever. Movies are movies.
Yeah. Well, that is 10 things I hate about you, perhaps taking down some of the prestigious Movie of the Year awards, but unfortunately not in the running for Movie of the Year. We will be right back after this break. Before it is all said and done, Wilson has learned to what extent Terry Valentine, is responsible for the death of his daughter, and to what degree the Limey himself is to blame for setting her on a path that led to her eventual demise. So what does the Limey have to say about fathers, and what does it say about family in general, Mike?
I think fathers tell themselves these lies. This is what the movie is saying about like
how a little bit
how they. It's going back. We were just talking about the game. Oh, we played this hilarious game when she pretended like she was gonna call the cops on me because she was so fucking devastated that I was being a criminal yet again and yet again was about to be ripped out of her life. Ha ha ha! How fun that was for the both of us. We have no idea if it was fun for Jenny as a kid or if Jenny as an adult also remembered that fondly. But that is the dads specifically feel like, oh, I did the best I could and it was pretty close to the best, wasn't it? And it all comes crashing down for him at the end.
I wonder, though, if when you're sitting in the airplane chair, when you're talking to somebody, when you're in a conversation, you can make up all the excuses and lies you want. But when you're sitting in that airport chair going home, just with your memories, are you still making those excuses? Or do they all float away and you can only remember what a piece of shit you were or all the opportunities lost? And I think the movie sort of shows us that like he has a lot of regrets.
I think when he talks to, was it Nancy Lenihan, the woman sitting next to him on the plane who showed up in everything.
Lady on Plane, Nancy Lenihan.
Yes, Lady on Plane. The way he's talking, it feels like such a cover of like, I'm trying to put joy into my voice and there's only devastation underneath. Like, and even when he's like, other people should have gone, not me. So we don't even know what the first reason he went to jail was, but it's the first time he isn't saying it like, well, the first or third time I went to jail. Isn't it so funny? I've been to jail so many times. Like, I don't know.
Second time. Nope.
There's like
third time.
There's a sadness when he's talking about it in a way that there hasn't been up until then.
Well, second time is Cockney slang for fifth time. So,
yes.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating question, and one of the other things that I noticed this time, there were I think three things total that really stood out. One of them being the fact that he didn't kill, that he didn't actually kill Valentine. I think the other one I talked about was just that it had this real sort of reckoning with the past that I didn't fully track the first time I saw it. Another thing I saw, and guys, I didn't have a chance to go. This didn't occur to me until after the movie, and I didn't have time to go back and, fully fact check myself. So if I'm wrong, call me out for it. But if I'm not perfect on this, I still stand by the overall point because there's no doubt that it's mostly true for the film. Okay. And that is, I don't think Jenny actually has a voice in the film. I don't think Jenny speaks in the film. And this comes back, Mike, to what you're saying about the importance of that first line being "tell me about Jenny," and that being a recurring line. That's important for us as viewers too, because we see a little bit of Jenny, but otherwise other people talking about Jenny is the only way we're going to know who Jenny was at all.
Yeah, you're totally right, Adam, because
she doesn't talk.
There's the scene where Eduardo Ruel tells us that she goes and she's yelling at these guys, but we just see her mouth moving.
We see her mouth moving, and I did go back and watch the final scene with Valentine on the beach, and when he's recounting how she was going to tell on me, she was going to do it, whatever, that too is all just B-roll. We never hear her talk. So I don't think at any point that we see Jenny, we ever actually hear her. And I think that for me, it's another sort of powerful choice on Soderbergh's part. And I think it ties back in some ways to what Valentine is doing by just replacing her with another one, another model of her. I think there's a certain, maybe this isn't so much about daughters as it is men with women, and this ability to pretty easily objectify them and not give them a voice. And I think even in the case of a father who I think we're supposed to believe, right, that he says he grew up, he remembers everything. He grew up with her, watching her in those increments. But nevertheless, he never was actually present for her. And he never did actually honor any of her wishes, right? He was always doing what he wanted to do. He was always being purely selfish. The same way Valentine, in the end, was always being purely selfish, right? So I agree with Ryan. I totally agree. Yeah, I think there is real regret there. Yeah.
It reminds me of the first place I noticed this, I think, was The Sopranos. How often Tony Soprano, the ultimate id character who just does what he wants to in every moment at the exact moment he wants to. Every time he's talking to his family, he's like, everything I do for you. No, there's no. That's just something dads love to say.
Yeah, that's boomer parent
guilt. Dads love to say that everything.
Yeah.
What'd you say,
that's
Ryan?
Boomer parent guilt. Like, that's like a big talking point right now. Is just like, it doesn't matter what I do because I can scream this back at you because I had the legal obligation to pay for your food and shelter. The other thing too about Jenny is like, I don't know if this is too much or too forced, but Wilson frees her, a memory of her, by taking the photograph. And I don't think that Terry Valentine would totally notice something like this in his house. He just seems like such a free-flowing guy, but he notices that frame immediately, that he had put her in this frame, in this square box, and now she had been removed. And it's not done like that for Wilson. For Wilson, it's just like, I've been here, bitch. Like, I know where you live. But there is that idea of, I'm going to take this away, and like, now you don't have at least this one frozen memory of her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is like Valentine notices when someone takes his stuff, right? Like, he doesn't care about people. He cares about stuff. And he has a way of transmuting the people around him into stuff. Let's talk about, in addition to this, let's talk about like found family, and an idea that was not like we were super conversant with in 1999. But what does this movie say? It's looking at like a family that has disintegrated. But then do we see the vestiges of like people forming family units apart from that?
Well, I think just being told about it, but how close Jenny was to Elaine and Ed, it's clear she was doing that with her acting class, and to Terry as well, right? Like, she found somebody who is too similar to her dad, but like, she was obviously out there trying to make those strong bonds. And so is, for possibly the first time in his life, Wilson is getting close to people.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, is it too much to say that like he and Elaine, almost from the beginning, themselves seem to have a mother-father energy? I mean, the first time he meets Elaine, she says, "Oh yeah, so you've got all that money from the Pink Floyd job that you did. That must comfort you now that you don't have a daughter." And it's like, whoa, how can you say that? And it's because they've already kind of formed this very like, I will say hard things to you, you will say hard things to me. And it almost feels like that begins to like be a family unit itself, right? A mother and a...
Wait, he stole Pink Floyd money. I never put this together, but so Peter Fonda is packaging 60s rock to steal money, and he took the money from the 60s rock band. Oh, they're the same.
Yeah, they're the same dude.
They are. I think you're right about that dynamic, but I also think it's interesting that, not in addition to the mother feel to Elaine, is that, and maybe this is the English major in me trying to be a little too clever here, but she's not only an acting teacher, but she's a vocal coach.
She's a dialect coach.
And she's the one who we find out is the one who reached out to Wilson. Essentially on her, she's Jenny's voice. She's the person who speaks for Jenny. I think she's the surrogate for Jenny so when she's speaking roughly to Wilson, that's Jenny's voice. She's the only one who speaks with Jenny's voice to him.
And I really love how, like, in any other movie, they would have hooked up. But since they're the surrogate mother and father, they just talk about their kid the entire time. Like, that's the only thing that's important. This conversation sort of made me think that, like, there's a little bit of LA story going on in this movie. Like, between her found family is her acting class, and Wilson seeing all the valets outside, and then if they need a gun, they go to a high school. Like,
what is he, the Marquis of Exeter?
There's a lot of LA's crazy, right?
I have to make an aside here. That is one of my favorite little bits of dialogue in that is he's looking up and he's seeing all these valets and he has no idea what that is. And so he's like, look at all these heavies they got. And Luis Guzman's like, no, they're valets. And then as an English person, he hears it's a bunch of butlers. And so it's like, this guy has 8 butlers standing outside his house. Why is he so fancy? That like miscommunication across time and across cultures, because I really think it is both of those things. This guy has been out of commission and he's been out of commission in England. So like, all of the world is mysterious to him, but America is like double mysterious. Oh, you know what that means. It's time to go to a speed round. Is there any world in which, now that it's been a bunch of years since Forrest Gump, we get a Forrest Gump style detective story where he's trying to figure out what happened to his Jenny? And he's just going around like, tell me about Jenny.
No.
0%.
No, I don't think there is, Mike. I think that's right.
This is why you're not a Hollywood screenwriter, Greg.
You're more like Adhara says in 1999, really probably filmed in 1998. Adhara says to Peter Fonda, you're not a person, you're more like a vibe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was that prescient, or is this the beginning of that usage of that slang?
And I love how Peter Fonda doesn't really know how to take it. Like, he's almost like, I'm going to wade into this to see if this is an insult or a compliment.
A mix?
How is this film in conversation with other noir stories? Maybe specifically LA versions of noir stories. And first of all, do you see that connection?
Well, I think
does this feel like a noir infused movie to you guys, or like that it's aware of noir?
Well, I do, and I think what so much like LA noir as a subgenre does is like, oh, you think it's all bright, it's actually disgusting and grimy underneath. And there's anytime you get that much wealth disparity, there's going to be people taking advantage of other people and using their power and wealth to do so, and thinking they can get away with it and getting very self-righteous when they cannot. And so I think it's playing with those tropes. But I don't know anything specific except for what Ryan just said a few minutes ago.
Well, I think that like with neo-noir, LA neo-noir, so like maybe starting with Chinatown, the whole thing is like, you won't believe how often the sun is out in this place. Like, instead of just being dark alleys and East Coast like grime, like the sun is always shining on how disgusting this place is. And the Limey definitely has that.
Yeah.
Things fester in the open sun here. Why is Cockney slang so silly?
It really, I thought these were tough cats, and like they are the silly billiest of people.
Do you know what my introduction to it was? Even though I saw this movie before Ocean's 11, it was Don Cheadle saying the whole thing's gone Barney, and they all look at him. He's like, Barney Rubble, trouble, and the indignancy of trouble. How did you not understand I meant trouble when I said Barney?
If I told you guys that I was surprised how little Bottle and Bristol there was in this movie, do you have any fucking idea what I'm saying? And is that on you and not on me? It means tits and ass. I'm surprised. I did think there'd be more tits and ass, but also I'm surprised that these idiots talk like this.
Okay, let me ask you. The movie takes pains to show us one of the all-time most beautiful women any of us has ever seen, and she's naked in a tremendous amount of this movie, but the camera, like in a almost respectful way, is always pushed in on her face. Why was that?
Do we even
choice
see
made?
her and Terry kiss? Like, it's just the father-daughter thing.
No, she takes off like her outermost layer so that she's just wearing her bra and panties. And then it cuts back to Peter Fonda, who looks embarrassed and is laughing and puts his hand up to his face like, oh no, we can't do
He's
this.
such a goober.
Like, is there a chance this relationship is not sexual at all? That it's just like he just has her around to be like a piece of moving
And like on his arm at red carpets
decoration?
and stuff. But yeah, like, and Terence Stamp too. Like, I know he doesn't want to get caught when she's coming out of the shower, but also he's like, this is a girl that is my daughter's age, that looks like my daughter, and he just like hides his eyes. Like, there's no sex in this movie because it's all father-daughter, like all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Can we go back to the Cockney thing just for a second? I mean, did that that work for you in this film, or not work for you, or indifferent to it?
It helped make Wilson feel like a man at a time for me. Like, he literally can't speak the same language, even though they're speaking the same language, and he's the age he is. So instead of being like, "Oh, this is on me," he's angry at everybody else for not understanding.
What, like, this is, I don't know if it's their biggest fight, Greg, in the commentary, but it might be their first, of like how Lem Dobbs, is that his name? Only had one in the script, and Soderbergh put 3 in, and they argue about this for so long. And for me, it's how could you not understand what I'm saying? That maybe it would have been better to just have him say random words and never explain it.
Right.
Like, just stop at China and then move on.
But it's interesting.
This is the one time I agree with Lem.
When Guzman doesn't understand it, he rolls his eyes and is indignant. When Elaine doesn't understand it, he's like, "Oh no, here's what I mean." Like, and it does show like how he treats people differently. Like, so I guess there's some character shading there.
I saw some people online, like on a Reddit thing, say they were arguing about it because some people hate it, and someone saying, "Well, no, it's a device that he only uses it when he's deliberately he's in a situation and he's trying to discombobulate people," like the scene with Bill Duke, for example. But that's just fundamentally not true, because he says it, for example, with Luis Guzman after they've already gotten to know each other and they're just talking as guys. He also does it with Elaine when they've gotten to know each other and they're just talking as people. So he does it a couple times when he's just conversing, and then he does it at least one other time when he is like trying to maybe confuse the person he's talking to a little bit. So there isn't that clear like intention of confusion with it.
We didn't talk about the Bill Duke scene at all, where he's the detective that brings Wilson in, but English please, or I didn't understand a single word, is just such a hacked line, and Bill Duke's delivery of that hacking line is perfect. It is so good.
Ultimately, I think when something sticks out as much as this choice sticks out, it makes me want to say it's a bad choice. But it does underscore how this guy speaks a different language, how he's out of touch with people, and how he uses his not being understood. He sort of uses that as a weapon sometimes. He's like, sometimes he comes in and he just tries to swamp somebody with dialogue, like he does with Bill Duke, right? Like, I'm just going to say so much stuff to you that I'm going to confuse you. So I want you to be like, I want you to not know what I'm saying. But I think ultimately we have to say it doesn't settle comfortably into the movie.
But I don't think that's the movie's fault. I'm not saying bad choice movie. I'm saying bad choice Cockneys.
And I'll tell you, I think the reason it exists is because if you live in London, you are encountering a lot of people who use words that you don't understand because they're so erudite, and you have to constantly say like, "Oi, what did you mean by that?" And so this is a language that runs parallel to that, and it's like, no, we're the in group here. We all understand like what we're saying to one another. You don't. You're the one that needs to learn, and then it lets one class speak in the presence of another class, and they have their messages be completely encoded in a way that they can't break in.
I'm gonna have to think about it, Ryan, because it was interesting.
Sorry, Adam,
you mentioned Ocean's 11, and I just have to. I don't think that was the first time a movie introduced me to that Cockney slang and explained it, but I can't remember what it was. Like, maybe it was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like, I'm wondering now which movie it was that actually explained.
That's a good guess.
Explain like the system to it. The only thing that doesn't work for me about it here slightly, and this is ironic because my understanding is Terence Stamp actually comes from the East End of London. Like he should speak it very naturally. And I'm certainly, I'm not an expert on it, but when I hear people do it in movies, it comes off the tongue so trippingly.
Mhm.
It's such a fast-paced, fluid thing. Even when they just say that kind of British, like that, well, this happened, didn't it? Or I did this, didn't I? When Stamp does it, he talks so deliberately. So it's always like, didn't I? Didn't it? And he says the butchers, and my China. Like he leans into it so much. It's not like any Cockney I've ever heard in a movie before. And so it really registers with your ear. And like maybe he's doing it the right way, maybe there is no right way.
And when British people do end the sentence with "didn't it," that's rhetorical, right? You shouldn't just say yes at the end of every sentence.
I believe so.
Are you okay? Do you really not know whether or not you
did,
arrived
dude.
here
It did. I
late?
promise.
Is that what you're saying? That is the end of Speed Round. Let's get a score update here. Ryan clocking in at 37 points. Mike, you have raised your score up to 30 points. And Adam, you are currently sitting at 35 points. When we come back, we're going to give this movie some awards, and then each of us will also give a recommendation. Awards. I feel like you should get one just for participating, and that's what's wrong with my generation. This movie did not win any Academy
I don't
Awards.
think people knew about this movie until like 2006 or 7, so I'm going to doubt it.
We got the hottest director in Hollywood making the most secret movie nobody's ever heard of. This is like that movie that they made and then they're not going to show anybody for 100 years. Like this. This is a time capsule movie that we unintentionally
I think in '99,
did.
Martin Shkreli bought the only copy of this movie and kept it to himself.
But he copied it. Oh, Martin Shkreli. We are going to give this movie 5 awards. And then before it's all said and done, we will also give our recommendations. I'm going to start off with cringe. I feel like 99 has been a really good year for like cringe not coming from necessarily racism or otherizing people. But I still got to imagine that this movie gave us opportunities to cringe. Mike, when were you cringing?
Look, we just were talking about it a bunch, so I was trying to scramble and be like, do I have another one? But it is, he's my China plate, my mate. That nothing else in the movie did make me go, ugh, every time. Every time there was stuff, I'm like, that feels very intentional. So
Okay, I like it. Ryan, what did you have as your cringe?
I mean, Nicky Cat is a volcano of awful things, but no, it's what Mike said. And specifically the China plate, dude. I was like, come on, movie.
Really?
Shut up.
Don't you cringe a little bit more when the movie's trying to be cool and fails than when you've got like a Nicky Cat who they obviously turned the camera on and said, okay, say a worse thing. Okay, say a worse thing. This guy, I think, is pretty clearly improvising. And then they just he's like, I'm sure he thought at some point Steven Soderbergh is going to say, that's way too bad. Stop. And he's just like, nah, dude, talk about the kid a little bit. Sure, why not? Next award is going to be Director's Signature. I feel like we've spent a lot of time talking about like Soderbergh being like a very, very apparent in this movie. Ryan, what do you have as his signature moment?
This is a tough one because it's not a heavy hand, but the hand is there. And I think I'm going to select the segment that is Wilson and Elaine at their 3 locations. But so they keep switching between her apartment and a restaurant and a pier, right? Like a walk along a river or something.
Yeah.
Or the beach because it's in LA. And
like the marina. Yeah.
And the conversation continues as they move from scene to scene or location to location. It just keeps like, I don't even know if like 2 lines, definitely not 3 lines are ever said at the same location. And it harkens back to Out of Sight, like Adam said earlier. Greg, you probably know what I'm talking about with Out of Sight.
Yeah, the way he'll
Adam, you remember that movie?
Shift into the dialogue of the next scene before like he'll actually move into the next scene.
And I just think,
Mike, you're probably way out of your depth here.
It's out of mind for me.
Out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, this is Soderberghian, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting not to be like I listen to the commentary guy, but it's funny when that scene starts, Soderbergh is like, I feel like I kind of got away with this. I thought people might give me crap about this. And Lem Dobbs, to his credit, is like, I think this is beautifully realized, and it's one of like everybody's favorite. Like everybody likes this part of the movie.
Hey, because honestly, to listen to Dobbs for a while, you sort of think that he wanted this to be like a straight to video, late stage Bruce Willis movie. Like, what did you want a director to have any say at all with your precious screenplay?
Adam,
Yeah.
what is your director's signature moment?
So I'm torn here because you mentioned it earlier, Greg, and I almost feel like it's the signature moment of the film, and it's Wilson standing up like the Terminator in that long shot, right? That long shot, entering with the gun, but the camera just stays there. But I'm actually going to go, and I think I've made this clear. I really am a big Soderbergh fan, and I love this film. So I want to choose a signature moment that for me exemplifies what makes this film great. And instead, I'm actually going to choose a moment that might be a moment that would be in the defense column for Lem Dobbs, perhaps, right?
Okay.
And we've already joked about it, but I'm picking it as the signature moment only because it fits into that category of sort of Soderbergh maybe being so in his bag, if you will. Like I'm going to this extreme with this editing technique that when I introduce Terry Valentine, I'm not just going to give him a British 60s pop song like I gave Terence Stamp, like I gave Wilson with The Seeker. I'm not just going to play King Midas in Reverse by the Hollies, but I am going to give him his own music video. I am going to cut together a 90-second montage with this song of moments from the movie. Like, these are moments from the car ride later.
You see him in Big Sur standing out on the deck?
like the car ride to Big Sur, the pool later, like all these moments. It's like
stick around for all this and more.
You know the moments at the end usually of bad movies when they show the actor over scenes from the movie. That's like what that is, but with King Midas in Reverse, and just the decision. It also does reinforce the idea though that he wanted to make sure he gave this character the same kind of weight he gave Wilson, right? The same kind of weight he gave Stamp. He said, I'm not just going to introduce him. I'm going to give him his own sort of music video montage. I think it just really speaks to the audacity of Soderbergh here in this movie.
Yeah, definitely. That kind of captures like all the editing almost under one umbrella to do something like that. Mike, what do you have as your signature moment?
Oh, mine's so similar to Ryan's. It was just the one when Wilson and Ed are meeting, and the three different locations are there. They're like out back smoking. They're in the front door. They're driving, and it's just it's very early on, so it's the first time it's happening. So it's one of those things like, oh, this isn't going to be a normal movie.
Buckle in, Fangio.
This ain't your daddy's movie, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. I'm going to give that one to Adam. We're gonna take a little break for a music video here, everybody. And as the viewer, you just buy it. You're like, cool, Peter Fonda. Let's watch him for a little bit. All right, next is music moment. When did the music hit? We've been talking a lot about the music in this movie, but when were you really blown away by the music?
So I think this is a moment that's really close to what Mike was just talking about, but it's the moment that leads into it. It's actually not the Seeker, but it's the moment when the Seeker cuts out. That's the most interesting to me, because the movie up until that point, this is the point when Wilson has gotten to his motel and he sits down, and I think he gets out the newspaper clipping about the accident. Up until that point, the movie has been linear, and it starts to become nonlinear the moment the music stops, and it stops abruptly. And the last line is, or it has been nonlinear in the sense that we've heard that line, "Tell me about Jenny," that we don't, it's disconnected. But otherwise it's, he's landed, he goes to the motel, and then the music just cuts out abruptly. and it does catch you off guard for a second. And the last line before it cuts is from the song is "I'm a really desperate man," which right, like of course, which he is, and and when it cuts, that's where we get the waves. That next like 3 minutes is him going to meet Eddie, but then he's already sort of met Eddie, the waves, like all these moments and sounds and scenes from what's about to happen. The entire movie, basically the structure, the nonlinear structure of the movie all collapses on itself in that moment when the music cuts out and the movie like becomes itself in that moment.
Dope. I like that. Mike, why don't you follow
that? It is Colors by Donovan at the very end, going back to Poor Cow. Is that the name of the movie that it's from?
Mm-hmm.
But just the line, it's clearly him, and that was wild to be like, how did they think 30 years before that they should film a scene for this movie? But
this is a prequel to a movie we know nothing about.
That's what Linklater does, not Soderbergh.
Mm-hmm. Freedom is a word I rarely use without thinking of the time when I've been loved. And like, if that doesn't capture a man who's very rarely been free, and the only thing that feels like is the only love in his life, because he talks about Jenny's mom, they were mates. Like, so the only love he's ever felt is from like, it was just it was a nice little button at the end of it, and less like some of the needle drops made me roll my eyes a little. So
yeah. All right, what do you got, Ryan?
I'm going to just go back to Adam's award winner for last time for Soderbergh, director signature, and I'm going to do King Midas in reverse. I was surprised that at the end of this, it didn't, there wasn't writing in the bottom left-hand corner, and it just said the Hollies, King Midas in reverse, and then the album and the studio.
Maybe get some pop-ups in there,
Ryan? If we could do some pop-up video. And what it reminded me of was... the movie that kicked off 1999 2.0, the end of Election with Jennifer Juniper, where they have that same thing. And that song is by Mike, who is, remember that one?
Is that also by Donovan?
It's by Donovan.
I love that. The greatest hits album. Yeah.
Donovan is coming back. But yeah, I think that this is why music was invented, is to have scenes like this introduction to Terry Valentine.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm going to give that one to Ryan. I think I just really liked that moment of the movie because it just won back-to-back awards.
I'm going to change my funniest moment to something from that.
Mike,
Peter Fonda smiling.
Yeah.
Let's go to you, Mike, for funniest moment. What is the funniest moment?
Look,
of the line.
I also was worried that my funniest moment might be somebody else's cringe.
Me too.
Sort of talked around it, but
I think I know where you're going.
Cringe in it, but letting Nicky Cat just go nuts for too long. There is cringe in there. There's stuff I don't condone, but it also he's just roasting Hollywood and saying how fucking stupid everything is. And sometimes it was laughing at the audacity.
One of the funniest things he says in that interlude, oddly enough, is like the least like jokey joke where he just suddenly looks to a guy and he goes, "Yeah, hurry up and really eat that."
Greg,
like there's like three extras that laugh after he says that.
Some of us still have to give our funniest moments.
Okay, sorry. Adam, what's your funniest moment?
I mean, honestly, Mike, it's both the cringiest moment in the film and the funniest. That's the thing. Some people might just say it's cringy, but I'm sorry. Yes, it's offensive in every way, but I just don't see how you can't laugh at what Nicky Cat, the bravura performance that he is giving in this scene because the thing about him, as we know from the scene where he was introduced, he is a deplorable human being. Yeah. And so we know he's deplorable.
Look at his hair.
And we are laughing at him, more than laughing with him. But the thing about it is there are the really off-color, offensive things he's saying there. And the fact is, the two lines that make me laugh the most, I swear to you, the two lines that make me laugh the most are, "Mom and Dad, still a loser." and when the guy, like the PA just walks by, they need that right away. Something about the way he says that kills me every time. That line is my funniest line in the movie.
It reminds me of that famous Vine where the guy's just sitting on his stoop and there's a woman walking down and she's like, "And they were roommates." And then he puts the camera on himself like, "Oh my God, they were roommates." Like, you have no context, but you're just chiming in, aren't you?
Yeah.
What'd you have, Ryan?
I had something that is borderline Naked Gun-esque. Like, this is when Wilson or becomes Frank Drebin, or when Soderbergh becomes Zaz, where, okay, the bad guy's here. He's at the party. That's bad. Let's send out our heaviest heavy, and he is the heaviest one, to go out. And while Peter Fonda is in the foreground, just at his party, we see through the window, Terence Stamp spend about 1 second flipping this guy over the balcony to his death.
Kills him.
Yep, he's dead now.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have all of, like, we've talked about so much about Soderbergh's, like, how he holds back in the violence, and Terence Stamp went back into that truckers depot to kill all those people, but we didn't see any of it. And this one was just like, kick to the shin, flip over, you're dead now.
Now you're gone. I'm going to give that one to Adam. So, I don't know what, something like to have like so many funny lines in a row that you would not want to repeat in polite company. And then to have like the walk off be, they need that right away. Like that's just, that's delivery and timing and like these intangibles that you can't quite wrap your hands around. Okay, let's get to the most prestigious of all the awards. Pound for pound performance. Who did it the best, regardless of how much screen time they had, Ryan?
I will just let Mike and Adam go back to what they just said. I'm giving it to Nicky Cat. I'm sorry. I'm a kid of the 90s. There's so much incredible acting here. I love all of it, but he had about 10 minutes in this movie and just destroyed with all of it. I do think that if things worked out differently, he also recently just died, not as recently as Terence Stamp, but he died, and I texted you guys on that day, and you were like, oh, okay, cool. I think it's because you hadn't seen the Limey yet. You know, that you didn't understand. But shout out to him. I think that he, in a different world, what I was going to say is that he could have been like a Ryan Reynolds level movie star, quick talker, funny guy. And his iconic roles are like this and Dazed and Confused. But it's really like a lot of small parts and a lot of things that you've seen but not noticed, you know? So shout out to him.
A lot of pound for pound performances.
Yeah.
Right?
In the spirit of the award, I understand that there are two titans in this movie, but I'm going to throw it to him.
All right, excellent. Adam, who did you have for pound performance?
It was tempting to go with Nicky Cat because, Ryan, you're right. If you haven't seen the Limey, it might be a case where you don't fully, appreciate him. You may remember him from Boiler Room and The Way of the Gun and Dazed and Confused, but I think this scene in particular, the one we're referencing, is the one that a lot of people really remember Nicky Cat for. But you have to think of the Limey and think first and foremost about Terence Stamp. I know it may seem like a boring answer, but he was my answer.
He's the
before,
Limey.
sadly, he passed away, and we really are. We're taping this, the day he died, and I just can't believe it unfortunately worked out that way. But being able to watch this movie just about a week before he passed and remember what a screen presence he was, I do sort of feel fortunate for that. And the thing about the performance, I mean, I don't remember. I haven't seen a lot of those older performances. I haven't seen Poor Cow. I don't remember him as this British actor, screen actor, or stage actor, right? I know him as General Zod primarily, and I know him from this. When he shows up in this film as this criminal, he's this criminal and he's out for revenge, and he seems like this hardened guy, and he's got that gait, and he seems very determined, and that face that seems like he's pretty tough, and it's just such a empathetic, and it's such a, at times, even vulnerable. It's a very human performance. There are very different Wilsons that we see throughout this movie. He's a different type of Wilson when he's talking to people like Terry Valentine or the warehouse guys versus Elaine versus Eddie, right? Or the woman on the plane. And they're all, he's not necessarily putting on an act for them. I think the only person he might be acting for, the character, is the Bill Duke in that Bill Duke scene, right? But otherwise, that's just, he is all of those different people. He is all of those different layers. And you get moments like when the light just starts to shine on his face on the plane, and that little smile comes across his face, right? They're such wonderful little moments that he delivers there, and even just line readings, of course, not only like the famous, tell him I'm coming, but also, when Luis Guzman says, how are you going to get that out of a guy like Terry Valentine? He says, I bloody ask him, and just like really memorable, just 4 words like that. And the way he says it, he doesn't say I bloody ask him like a hardened criminal. He says it like a bloke.
Yeah.
And I love that you get those versions of Wilson in this performance from him. And I just got to mention one last thing, because I talked about how it felt like there were all these meta layers at play, and we get real performances from the past from both, or alluded to in Fonda, and real versions of Fonda or Stamp on screen. There's a line in the movie where he's talking about Jenny and how she used to get mad when he'd go away for a long time once she figured out that once she figured out that he wasn't doing such and such, and he wasn't like going to play Iago in Othello or something, right? Yeah. And I'm like, Stamp probably actually was famous, or I bet he played Iago in Othello. And I looked it up, and it turns out he was discovered for playing Iago in Othello.
Ah, that's awesome.
So even that was, something they pulled out of his real life.
Yes,
so,
out of the reality of the guy's life. I love that.
And we all know that like nobody at this point in 99 was clamoring for a Terence Stamp vehicle, right? Like nobody was like, keep this guy in a movie. This casting is just so like out of the box and brilliant.
Mike, what do you have?
It's already been said. It is Nicky Cat.
Oh,
guy comes
shit.
on. It's so like, I feel like modern movies don't do this, where somebody comes on just like Boba Fett-esque, inspires a fandom, like just shows up. And Ryan, you compared it to Kevin Smith earlier, and this does feel like Soderbergh's like, I'll do my version of Jay and Silent Bob. I know Uncle John sort of talks, but he's mostly silent, and then Stacy just motor mouth the whole time. And it's like, they wouldn't be cute and cartoony to hang out with people who are like that.
I can't wait for this Halloween, Mike, where you and I go dressed as those two. Everybody says, oh, cool Jay and Silent Bob costumes. We're like, no, watch the Limey. It's from the Limey.
Before we heard the news about Terence Stamp today, I think that would have been a great answer. The answer that really would have won me over was Bill Duke.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They didn't even like really pay him anything to come in and do this. And he just, pound for pound, this is what pound for pound means. You just sit there, you hardly say anything. You just look amazing the entire time. You say a couple lines and then you're out on with your life.
I mean, if you've seen,
but I'm going to give it to Ryan.
If you've seen other Bill Duke performances, they probably just ran into that office after a different TV show or movie had stopped filming and be like, okay, Bill Duke, say this real quick.
I love it. But because he passed just today and the newness of that is upon us, I think I'm going to have to go with Terence Stamp. Now it is time for recommendations. I'm going to go first here, and I'm going to say I really recommend, if you like the Limey, that you listen to the commentary on the album or on the movie. I did, and I don't want to say like it changed my life, but it changed a lot of my opinions about movies. And if you listen to Lem Dobbs and Soderbergh talk, they almost give you a syllabus of movies you can watch to understand this one better. And so my actual recommendation is one of those from that list, which is called Vanishing Point. This is a movie from 1971. Barry Newman, who plays Avery in this, was in this movie. They mention it because in that scene where Avery goes bombing down the hill and crashes into them, Barry Newman really knew how to drive. And so they had like the cameraman and Soderbergh in the car with him, and he was just like terrorizing them, going around these Hollywood Hills turns at like full speed in this old Mercedes. Vanishing Point is a guy has to take a Dodge Charger, 1970 Dodge Charger, from Colorado to San Francisco in like 3 days. And he is chased by the cops the entire time, won't stop swallowing speed, encounters a naked lady on a motorcycle who tries to sleep with him. And he says, no, thank you. And on top of all this, if you search for Vanishing Point and Internet Archive, you can just watch this movie for free on your computer right now. It is like a grindhouse, grimy 70s B movie. And then on top of that, it's got almost like a John Cheever-esque, like almost magical realism, almost like what's really going on here. This is really about the soul of America in 1971 as portrayed through a speed freak car chase.
1971. Interesting year that you would bring that up.
1971, Ryan's been on my mind.
Real quick,
Ryan.
Greg, sorry, before you go on, about the director's commentary, like as a film dork, as a kid, and as like somebody who grew up with this, I thought that these would be amazing director's commentaries. So often they are not. I just recently watched.
They usually suck, I think.
I just watched one for a different podcast. I was on Cradle to the Grave, and I did Fast Times. So I watched that commentary with Amy Heckerling and Cameron Crowe, and the whole time they're like, "Oh, that extra in the background, that guy loved apples." Like that's what you get from the entire 2 hours. And
What
so
artists?
if you look up the commentaries to watch, make sure they have Lem Dobbs or Ben Affleck, who's had a couple. Those are the ones you want to
Yes.
watch. My recommendation, I have a friend named Greg who has been trying to go through French New Wave and
Yes.
been texting me about it. And this movie fits perfectly into that. It's very inspired by a lot of that. And so the one I want to recommend tonight is Last Year at Marienbad, where if you think that that the Limey has some tough editing, you don't know shit. And I do think that the Limey is a good stepping stone to watching Last Year at Marienbad, which is a puzzle and a half, but completely worth your while. And I mean, typically on these recommendations, we're like, oh, I think Soderbergh has probably seen this movie. Greg, you have, after listening to the commentary, you have evidence, right? Like he definitely has seen this movie.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the movies that he like had in mind, and he like mentions it being like very influential on his just like whole like approach to
Yeah, and I think that so many people when they go to make a movie, they're like, well, these are the rules. And Soderbergh, his experimentalism is still very entertaining to me, you know. And Last Year at Marienbad is right there on the edge of still entertaining.
All right, love it. Mike, what do you recommend?
I recommend another weird take on a revenge film, about an hour and a half. 2013's Blue Ruin. I think its tone is drastically different from this. It is not nearly as rompy as the Limey can be. But I think also if you want a meditation about America's soul and what revenge can do to somebody, Blue Ruin slaps. It's the director who did Green Room. He likes colors. But yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Adam, do you have any recommendations for us?
I do. I was thinking about the conversation we were having about Cockney accents, and it made me think about one of those films. Maybe wasn't the first film that introduced me to it, but one of those films that I remember featuring it quite prominently, very effectively, definitely a crime film and one I love. And that's from just the year after the Limey, Jonathan Glazer's Sexy Beast.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You've got Don Logan, the Ben Kingsley character in particular, who has the very strong Cockney accent, uses the slang. Really one of the most memorable villains, screen villains, honestly, even though, you know, he's a crime character. He's one of the scariest characters I can think of in cinema. And maybe something about the Cockney accent, the crime milieu, and the fact that I can think about the main character played by Ray Winston just trying to enjoy life hanging around a pool like Peter Fonda. That's what had me thinking about it in relation to the Limey.
Awesome. I love it. Those are our recommendations, and that is basically our show. Let's go to the final scores here. Ryan, you come in at 39 points. Mike, you come in at 33 points. And Adam, our winner, comes in at 45
Son of a
points.
bitch.
Adam making hay in the award section, hitting us with some fast facts. It feels like from what we're talking about that the Limey has a real chance to be our movie of the year, which is an exciting idea. But how about some of our precious MOTY, some of the award categories that we win? One thing I heard a lot tonight, gentlemen, was we had a lot of music moments. Is the Limey gonna do we think gonna corner the market on music moments?
A lot of music. There's no Safe Ferris, so probably that's going to hurt it.
That's a little bit of a problem.
No Letters to
I think
Cleo, but yeah.
violence.
Okay, impactful violence. Yeah. Okay, impactful violence. It's going back into the warehouse and not even seeing the violence. It's funny on the commentary. Soderbergh says, "I don't really know how to shoot action scenes." Well, you hit it out of the park with the one that you didn't show us anything.
Do you guys know what Lem Dobbs and Soderbergh's next working together was?
No.
No, what was it,
It was
Ryan?
Haywire
Oh,
with Gina
Haywire.
It's all
Carano.
action.
Yeah. I'm shocked they worked together again after the commentary, but they found a way. And Haywire is awesome.
I do have to say about the commentary, they come off chummy. Like, it's not two guys screaming at each other. Lem Dobbs goes really hard at Soderbergh, but the best part is Soderbergh is like has an answer for everything.
Yeah.
You come away being like, if you had to get a movie made, and I don't know why this would happen to anybody, but if you had to get a movie made and you needed a director, call up Soderbergh. He'll bring home the project.
And just keeps his cool. Like if you look at him, you would be surprised that he's shockingly cool. Or if you watch Out of Sight, you would know that.
Yeah, he's calm and collected. And then we've of course got best duos, I think, just all over the place. It's a movie of great tandems, great tandem.
Ice Cream and Bikini Wax. That's an iconic duo.
Man, what
Name a more iconic duo.
Okay, how about one wine cooler and bikini wax? I think that's exactly
what it is.
She got that. Drink the wine cooler, do the waxing. Adam, thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you for winning. We really appreciate it. If people like what they heard, what are you up to lately?
Just trying to churn out Filmspotting every week so people can check us out wherever they get their podcasts. Filmspotting.net is our website. Our YouTube page, we're posting a lot more video of the show recently. So youtube.com/filmspotting, trying to post more clips over on the Instagram as well. So you can find me over there on Instagram at Filmspotting.
Adam, I wanted to ask you, did you hear Quentin Tarantino's comments on The Film Critic and why he quit that movie?
I did not.
He said it was too much like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well,
right?
that, and he said, I can't imagine a more boring life than being a film critic. And so I will not make that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Who am I to argue with Quentin?
But then you get to watch so many fun movies. Come on now. Well, thank you at home for listening to the show. We will be back with even more great 1999 movies, so make sure you check those shows out as well. But in the meantime, do me a favor, will ya? Keep watching them movies.